Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed at episode number 150. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I ever wish I worked in a bank. I'm Keith.
I did work in a bank. I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
I think that's why.
And I have banked at a bank.
I know three people who work at banks, or who have worked at or currently work at banks, and I don't think it's for me.
The only time I really miss working at the bank is, Veterans Day.
Getting those holidays off.
Mm-hmm.
Boxing Day.
That's not a holiday you guys closed for, was it?
It is in Canada.
Well, in Canada, but not here.
Yeah.
So your bank didn't close for it.
I don't know. My bank closed for everything.
Sure, closed on Christmas, though. Yeah. All right.
How was everyone?
Very good.
Have a good weekend?
I did have a good
week.
More home improvements. That was pretty much it. Did some yard work and ran some wiring for my alarm system. Some permanent wiring for my alarm system. We lost an outlet in our entryway, which I think I talked about the ceiling last week, putting it back together. But I ran. We've had when that happened, the outlet went out. I had to move the cord that plugs into the alarm into the garage, and so I had an extension cord running to it for about a year. And I thought that's probably not a good idea. So I asked the electrician what I needed, and he told me, and I went and got it taken care of.
Glad I'm not the only one that does those kinds of things. Because
so that's done, and then cleaned up the yard because we've got a lot of leaves falling. Which, ironically, hardly any of them are from my tree, because my tree is an oak and it takes forever to fall. So it'll be 2 weeks from now. But our neighbors have a sycamore, and they're just covering our entire yard. So, well, not anymore because I cleaned them up. That was it. I don't have a lot of exciting stuff going on this weekend. The Chiefs were off this week, so
no news.
Automatic win.
We did an impromptu tweet along to the Daleks.
We've done a lot.
We did a lot of
tweet alongs this week.
Yeah. 3.
Because Chrissy watched Doctor Who and the Daleks, which I think she'll talk a little bit about in her feedback. But
on Wednesday night,
which was the movie, the Peter Cushing movie. But she watched the Riff Tracks version.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And then you guys happen to be tweeting back and forth,
which you will not be exposed to.
She tweeted that
much.
She tweeted that now I have to watch the Daleks to rinse the taste out of.
Yeah,
my
she
mouth.
said now I'm going to have to watch this tomorrow.
And you said,
I was like, well, what time? I'll tweet along with you if you want to, and quite a bit of us joined in for it.
I think I happened to be on that night and said, "Hey, I'm in." So
I think we tweeted at a bunch of people to say, "Hey, you want to do this too?"
Right.
Yeah. And then we also had V for Vendetta,
we did that,
which was fun.
The 5th. And then we did
on the 7th was the Daleks.
Yeah.
And then Friday Night Who.
And we did that.
We had one day in between.
Well, because that day in between, I actually watched the rest of Unearthed Child, which I thought was wonderful, because I watched that night, and then the next night I got to tweet along to the Daleks. So I almost went on and watched Edge
of Destruction?
Yes, Edge of Destruction, but I didn't.
I just caught up on shows that Wednesday. I'm still behind on some, but
I'm caught up on Arrow now, which is a phenomenal series. God, it's so good. I saw Thor: Dark World this weekend, which, as you guys did as well.
Yes. Oh, Sean saw something shocking.
Sean should stay off the internet while we're doing this.
I have news for later. I have a news story. So.
You shouldn't do that. That's not fair. That's why we have pre-show meetings.
What do you think?
You should have discovered it 10 minutes ago.
I was still looking.
You're too slow.
What do you think of Thor: Dark World?
I loved it.
We went and saw Thor.
I loved it.
Yeah.
It was. I loved the first Thor. Don't get me wrong. This was like 3 times better.
Yeah.
And this really had the.
It was very. Excuse me.
Was that a car?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was a bumblebee.
Wow, it sounded like a low-flying plane. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I liked it better than Iron Man 3, even though I liked Iron Man 3. But what Iron Man 3 and Thor: Dark World both have going for them is they have that Avengers feel. They have that epic feel with the right amount of humor and fun. And they're really doing these films correctly now. They were great films before. Now they've set the bar high.
Yeah, and they're continuing that trend.
Continuing that trend. And Thor: Dark World was right along that trend. It's beautifully shot. It's a lot of fun. I don't think I quite get the Loki love.
Some of it's a little dark. I thought.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think I quite get the Loki love that's out there now. I like Loki. I liked him as a character. He was fine. I think he's being overused. In fact, they went back and added Loki scenes for this.
See, I didn't feel like any of it was forced in at extra scenes.
Spoilers. I'm going to say it right now.
Spoilers.
If you haven't seen this,
now.
spoilers. I did not want that Loki scene to end that way, the way that it does in the film. That's all I'll say. I think it
that's not spoilers.
Well, it's not, but it carried it. I think Loki is on a fan high right now. Everybody loves Loki, which is fine. I appreciate that. And again, I think Tom Hiddleston does a fantastic job, and he's a great Loki. But I think they're going to overkill that character because I was quite surprised that he was the villain in Avengers. I expected him to come back in this.
We're going to get him. But
he needed the send out that he got in this movie initially, and then that be the end of it, in my opinion.
That could be.
That was very, very comic book-esque the way.
And how they set it up for the next Thor made me very excited. And I don't think outside of the Thor universe we're not going to see him again. He's not coming back for Avengers 2.
Yeah, no, I don't think we will.
And
but
they would be overusing him if he does come back for other stuff.
I think he'll be overused in Thor, but overall, wonderful film. I loved it. I loved both of the little teases we got.
Once again, stay through the credits.
Yes, because
all the way through
the mid-credit surprise is not the last of it. So,
ish.
Still missing Agent Coulson in the movies, though. Even though he's on my TV every week.
But there's going to be an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that deals with the fallout of Thor.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there is.
That'll be cool.
And I really hope it's that beast.
Yeah.
That would be a great episode.
That would be good.
And especially the way the final scene ends, or the final scene
Here's spoilers
after the credits.
right here.
I'm not saying what it is, just the way the post-credit scene ended. They could do a lot with it.
Yeah, I think so too. That's not what they'll do, but that's what they should.
Even some cameos would be really
cool. That's what they should do.
I was actually a little surprised that there was so little S.H.I.E.L.D. in this movie. Not that I'm complaining.
What was nice was there really wasn't a lot of it set on Earth, unlike the last one.
Yeah.
The last one was almost 50-50. This one was 2/3 and a third.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, I'm not surprised, and here's the reason. Especially after I saw the preview for Winter Soldier, Captain America Winter Soldier. It's going to be very heavy S.H.I.E.L.D., and we've got S.H.I.E.L.D. going on television now because Iron Man 3 didn't have much S.H.I.E.L.D. in it as well.
No,
that's just it. Yeah. So I think we had some S.H.I.E.L.D. references in both of these films.
Yeah,
which was
a lot of name dropping.
Yeah,
no.
Which is perfect because we've got a S.H.I.E.L.D. series going on TV right now, so we're getting a lot of S.H.I.E.L.D. that way. Looks like we're going to get a lot of S.H.I.E.L.D. in
you could really
Winter
oversaturate.
Yeah, and exactly, and they're doing that right. They're playing that out right, so that's been done well. So I appreciate it.
And because they're not heavily lacing everything with S.H.I.E.L.D. is why I don't think they're going to be heavy-handed with Loki anymore.
I would agree.
I think we're not going to see him again until Thor 3, whenever that is. I thought the director did a phenomenal job. And I don't think Kenneth Branagh could have directed this.
Not with the same epic feel and scope and action orientation.
What Branagh brought right to the first film was the character exploration and depth and Shakespearean feel to it.
Well, and the visuals.
I
think that he painted a picture of Asgard.
Yes.
Which was appropriate. And what happened here is that they took that and ran with it and really even just broadened it. Yeah.
See, honestly, I don't think Asgard was quite as pretty. It was still epic and majestic and all that, but it wasn't.
You're talking about in the first film.
As in the first film.
Yeah, as in the first film.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. But this one is shifting from royalty to militaristic, and that's why I think they made that choice.
Well, and you can also, I can justify that in the fact that there's been chaos in the Nine Realms ever since the first Thor. Mm-hmm. So things they aren't on Asgard as much to make things shiny.
I love that was his explanation when what's her name? Natalie Portman's character? Jane. When Jane goes up and says, "That's for you've been gone for so long," and she slaps him and does all that thing. It's I've been fighting or trying to bring
Peace to the
Nine Realms, and he goes through that. And okay,
that's a good.
That's a good.
His excuses go. That one doesn't suck.
My only complaint really with the movies, and I had this complaint with the first one. I thought they did better with the Jane character this time around.
She had a lot more to do as opposed to just being
the middle for her was great. It was the beginning and the end where she was all, woe is me, he's not here. I did not like the way they handled it because
but there was very little of that.
The character we get every time else in the film, she's not that way.
Yeah, but
it's just, and they don't treat none of the other female characters in the Marvel Universe have that sort of...
Because there are no other females in the Marvel Universe that aren't badasses.
Well, she is just as much.
Even Pepper's
she is
badass
but
woman.
Jane Foster is just as much a badass.
Painted in the
she's set up as a badass and set up every much equal as Thor.
She's set
just
up as
physically.
she's set up as a very confident woman and
a
smart,
very intelligent
woman. But she's not set up as a badass, and she doesn't need to. She doesn't need to be. I like having that type of character in this universe.
I just think they undercut the character. With that stuff.
Now, if there's any character that was undercut, I think the professor, what's his name?
Eric.
Selvig.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed him, and he became great
perfect.
Comedic relief. But I was like,
I actually didn't expect to see very much Eric Selvig.
I
got a
would
lot
be
more out of it, so I was glad.
Something.
I was so glad. I had a gun in my head.
Don't get me wrong. It makes sense from the previous, following up Avengers. I can understand why he goes the way he goes.
Wow, what happened to you? I had a god in my head.
Yeah. But after they showed him on TV, I kind of thought that was all we were going to get of it.
Yeah, I
thought that's how they were writing him out. So the fact that he actually shows up is cool.
I think I had more
Stanley
fun.
cameo was wonderful.
The Stanley cameo was wonderful.
I think I had more fun watching this than I did Iron Man 3.
Oh, I think so too. It was a lot more fun. There were part of that's because Joss was brought into.
Oh yeah,
and you could tell what lines Joss sweetened up. You could totally tell what lines he had got his fingers on.
I thought Christopher did a really good job.
I thought he did a good job, but it felt like there wasn't much for him to do. But that's just the role. That's just
standing
the
around being the bad guy. That's pretty much it. Look menacing. Okay.
Another wonderful cameo from another actor, even though it was not actually his character, but the portrayal of his character. That was fantastic. That shocked the heck out of me.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, wow, that's great. They got him in to do that. Just that little part so that they could make that. I have a feeling that was a Josh influence as well.
I can see that.
Totally think that was a Josh influence.
I'm still a little upset that Thor's group of friends, who are obviously the most coolest guys in the galaxy, don't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
They just don't get to go out. When they were setting everything up and the plan was forming, I was all, and then just one by one,
each one of them that
we get
stopped
one
Loki
little
and
moment.
said, "If you betray," and then the last guy
the
says,
guy didn't.
"Obviously, there's a line."
And I really liked Zach Levi in that role. I don't know if it's
the Green Arrow guy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I like him as a person.
Prince Baron.
Yeah,
Prince Baron.
We'll go that way too.
I thought he did a better job than the other guy, than Prince Charming. That's it.
Oh, is that a replace? I didn't even realize it was a replacement.
I thought he looked different. I thought he looked a bit different.
Who played him in the first one is on Once Upon a Time now. I think that's why he didn't come back, because he's Prince Charming on Once Upon a Time.
I see that. Because I kept looking at him going, he doesn't quite look like this he did in the first movie. So, okay.
That would explain that. I have two small complaints.
As Time Lords.
Oh.
Could be. I have two small complaints.
Okay.
There were many visual effects sequences which felt lifted from other films.
Did you see 2D or 3D?
Saw it in 2D.
Okay.
Specifically when he's explaining to her about the convergence and they're standing there on that beautiful Baucus tyranny that looks out over the lake on Naboo.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. I didn't see that.
It was Star Wars. It was totally...
the sound of some of those ships were Star Wars.
And that's my other complaint, is that these cool elf ship, which I love the design. Mm-hmm. I love it whenever you give me something that's not... Because I'm a very classical left-brained thinker. If you're going to put a wing on one end of a building, you got to have a wing on the other. That's just kind of how my head works. And so anytime you throw something at me that doesn't look like that at all, it's just like, ooh, cool.
Like a B-wing fighter.
Like a B-wing. And
which is what that's
kind of what they reminded me of.
Design.
But I love the fact that they just went off and did that. And even just the scale and size and mass of these things, like when it's dragging through the water and crashes up toward the end, and Mel goes, really, you couldn't have flown like 3 feet higher off the ground? And I looked at her and I said, if my ship was pretty much impervious to whatever you threw at it, I'd crash into things all the time on purpose. Yeah, I'd drag that tail end down there. Ha ha ha! I trout up your yard, But I love the design of the ships. But then they made that noise.
Thor didn't quite have the flight.
Well, yeah, that too. But then they made that noise. I was like, oh, that was a pod racer.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah.
So, note for movie makers, we recognize
I got
all
the
those
impression
things.
The sound was more of the Asgard ships than the elf
the
ships.
Asgard ships were the ones
they were all pod racers. It's like when they use the Jurassic Park raptor noises and stuff. It's like, I know what that is. Don't bring that and trot it out and pretend it's a new monster. It's a dinosaur. I got that one. Other than that, it was a great movie and very enjoyable, and I thought everybody did a good job, and it was a lot of fun to watch, and I enjoyed it much more than I thought I was going to, because I was kind of a little worried about this one for some reason.
I was quite worried about this one, too, especially since Iron Man 3 did so well and looked so good.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, here's that Thor, because of those first films, when they all came out, I loved Iron Man, I liked Iron Man 2, and then
don't forget Hulk.
I liked Hulk, yeah, okay. I liked the Incredible Hulk. Then when the Thor came out, I thought, that was the one I was concerned about, but they addressed a lot of my concerns, and so I was okay. But I was more of a concern from a moviegoer point of view, and not necessarily a comic book fan like I am. How are they going to do this so they could sell this to the people? And they did a great job with it. And so that was the one that kind of dipped down for me in the, okay, that was a good movie. And then I came back on Captain America and went, oh, that was a great movie. And then, obviously, Avengers was just phenomenal. So I thought the same thing was going to happen here. I thought we were going to do a little dip in Thor here, especially since they didn't have the same director, the same writers, and whatnot. But then when I heard Joss had come in and kind of got his hands on the script, I thought, okay, that was a smart move on their part, because they recognized that they had some pieces of this film that just weren't quite working. And they were excited to bring Joss in and say, hey, can you fix this for me? In fact, there was the director that brought him in, and I can't remember the director's name. But
Alan Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor came in and said, in fact, he said this in an interview, he said, we had Joss come in to rewrite a couple of lines. He came in to see how everything was going. And we said, well, we've got you here. We've got a couple of scenes that aren't working. And Joss said, well, let me see what I can do. And he took a look at the script, and he rewrote a couple of things. And he said, okay, let's try this. And they tried it, and they said it was phenomenal. And before he left, they said, well, actually, can we have you do a couple more things? And so they actually kept him on. Joss is trying to get out of there. And they keep bringing him back on it. Well, can you rework this for us and see what we can do here? And I think that's what did it. That was what made what could have been just a really dark, foreboding, intense, sad film turned into the light pieces in the right spots. I think that was
and that's a smart thing for the director who didn't also write the script. I think that's the smart move there, is that they got this very competent, very talented director, and it was the story issues they were having a problem with. So, and he recognizes that, and since he didn't feel certain loyalties to, I don't want my baby changed, he was willing to bring someone in and do this. And that's why I hope they really get him back for the third one.
It speaks mounds for a director, too, to go to another director, even if it's just story, to say, hey, I need a little help in my film. Because a lot of times directors will figure out a way to make it, okay, I don't like the way the story's going here. I'm the director, I'm going to make a change here. It's very admirable to see him say, Joss, can you help me on this? And Justice, it shows that the
teamwork.
The team is doing it right over there at Marvel.
Yeah.
They have this mentality of we're all in this together. We're working together. And I think that's going to carry over, and they're going to say, Fox, Sony, you've got these properties. We want you to do what you want with them. But let's all work together on this and make some real money. We'll bring these characters in and get them some... I think I wouldn't be surprised, not in the next Avengers movie, but I wouldn't be surprised in some of the next Avengers movies down the line, as Sony realizes they're onto a good thing, and Fox realizes they're on a good thing, that we see some cross characters, not as main characters, but as cameos. Because Disney's going to realize that, okay, I don't like the way the story's going here. I'm the director, I'm going to make a change here. It's very admirable to see him say, Joss, can you help me on this? And Justice, it shows that the team is doing it right over there at Marvel. Yeah. They have this mentality of we're all in this together. We're working together. And I think that's going to carry over, and they're going to say, Fox, Sony, you've got these properties. We want you to do what you want with them. But let's all work together on this and make some real money. We'll bring these characters in and get them some... I think we'll be surprised, not in the next Avengers movie, but I wouldn't be surprised in some of the next Avengers movies down the line, as Sony realizes they're onto a good thing, and Fox realizes they're on a good thing, that we see some cross characters, not as main characters, but as cameos. Because Disney's going to realize that we can help these guys out and bring draws to our films, and Fox and Sony are going to say, you know what, if we play along, this is only going to benefit our films.
I guarantee you by the time Avengers 3 rolls out, we'll have Spider-Man on the Avengers.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. If every company could have the same relationship that Disney has with Paramount, they have been in bed together for years. They are very friendly, and they know how to use each other. In fact, they cross-distribute a lot, because they know that they don't have the money to distribute both here and domestically and worldwide, and so they'll split distribution a lot of times, and it works for them. And if they can develop that relationship and get past that competitiveness, you still got to have that competitive edge, don't get me wrong, because you're making money. But if you can get past that and cooperate a little bit, everybody's going to benefit. And the fans are going to benefit, and the fans are going to appreciate you for it, too.
What's also very promising is, while it didn't reach what I saw was estimated box office for the weekend, it still did 21 million more than the first Thor did.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
So that's very promising.
Well, I think also
for the
coming
Thor
off the Avengers, but
for the Thor franchise, that's promising.
Yeah.
Well, at least I think get a third one.
I agree.
Oh yeah, we'll get a third one.
Did you do anything else?
I saw Ender's Game.
Oh, you did? Is that out this week?
It was out 2 weeks ago.
Get out. Really?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of quietly opened.
It didn't open very big.
It didn't open. It did. It was number one in its.
It was number
week.
one, but it wasn't number one with the bullet.
Yeah, it was. I think it made like 25 million or something opening week, and it
dropped to 5 this week.
No idea.
It was respectable, but it's it's very, very good. It's you've read the book.
Thought I did. You didn't? Did I tell that story on here?
No.
Yeah, thought I read that book.
You had not read the book?
And for years and years and years, well,
it was number one with 27 million.
27 million.
The last several years, I've been excited about this movie. I mean, this is great. It was a great book, wonderful book. I kept telling Holly about it. Yeah, we're going to go see this because this is a great story. I love this. I'm so glad they're finally doing a movie out of this. And then I saw the first trailer and I went, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Oh, there's Harrison Ford. I don't remember that. Oh, there's Ben Kingsley. I don't remember that. So I thought, what am I remembering? So then I saw another trailer, and I didn't remember any of it. And I went, I must have read another Orson Scott Card book, and I sure don't remember any of this. I still don't know what I read.
Did you maybe read Speaker for the Dead?
No, I think I read... Did he do the Outland books? I must have read the first one of the Outland trilogy. I think he did do the Outland books, yeah. I must have read the first one of that.
Okay.
So, no, I have not read the book.
I haven't either.
It was up until about 3 months ago that I realized I hadn't read the book.
Okay. Well, first some backstory. Ender's Game as a book is one of those life-altering moments. It's Dark Tower-esque. It is that big of a influential boom in your, and it's a huge hole in your literary. So you have to go rectify.
Yeah, well, I definitely. That was another thing is when I realized I hadn't read the book, I thought, I should read this before I see the movie.
It is one of a very small handful of books I've read more than once.
Oh.
And it helps that I did. I was right. It's kind of like when you see Star Wars at that age,
and
it impacts you that way.
Series?
That's what you asked me.
It might have been Pathfinder.
I don't remember. It's been several years, and in fact, it might have been more years than Enders existed, because Enders is still relatively a new book. I mean, within the last 20 years. It came out
in 85.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's older than I thought it was. This would have been in the 90s that I read.
It was his first book.
I read Ender's Game.
Ender's was? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I read Ender's Game and was right at that age, like when you get Star Wars influences you. I was right at that age when I read it. I was a little older, but I was still right in there, and it really had this profound effect on me. It is a colossal, amazing read. Even Chrissy raved about it on her blog. I mean, it's just So you've got my recommendation. You've got a librarian's recommendation. You got to read the book. The movie is extremely well done. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Sorry, it wasn't
it's beautiful. Harrison Ford is fantastic. H. Butterfield is a phenomenal actor, especially when you realize here's this kid holding his own against Harrison Ford and Ben Kingsley. And, I mean, it's really, really well done. It doesn't have the same emotional punch that the book does.
Okay.
But I honestly believe that it's probably as close as we're going to get, because the book really is unfilmable. It's really one of those that, as much as I've always wanted to see somebody tackle it and do it on film, I've always had that, I don't know that you can do this right, because there's so much. The movie ends and really, I mean, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It feels like you could have had another hour worth of stuff in there, just because there's so much that didn't get touched on from the book. But it's very, very, very good, and it's very well done. So yeah, I highly recommend the movie. And you could watch the movie first, and I think it would just kind of whet your appetite to go read the book. So
okay,
I'm off my soapbox now. But yeah,
I'll give it a try.
We did that this week.
But yeah, that really kind of opened silently. I'm kind of dismayed by that.
Well, I think the studio claims
it opened
that
the same weekend as Freebirds.
The studio claims that they're not hyping it as that young adult novel movie.
Yeah.
And it did draw a fairly hardcore sci-fi audience, or worse, it's got card audience.
It also had some
controversy.
There's some controversy about it because of some comments that were made. Yeah, I hope that it's just finding its its audience is coming. Might not come until video, but go see it. It's totally worth seeing.
Keith, what'd you do?
I didn't really do anything else.
Thor: Dark World and
caught up on
shows. You did say that. I mean, maybe you've already gone.
I went.
All right.
Sarah and I just chilled today.
Well, then maybe we'll move on to news.
Did you do anything else other than Thor or Ender's Game?
I saw Ender's Game. I watched a lot of stuff. We watched a lot of Justice League this week.
Yeah, you guys were watching it when we came over Friday.
Did not.
You have to reach for stuff.
No, I did not take part in all the tweet-alongs just because we had such a busy week with because we actually had the funeral and everything this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was about it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to news.
I want to go first.
Okay.
Because I just found it. This is what you were laughing at me. Update for Galley.
Oh, okay.
And what's prompted this is they did make a notification that if you have bought your tickets for Galley, that you may be wondering how come I haven't received my collector's postcard as of yet. And they made the decision that, well, because it's sold out, we don't feel the need to do the expense of sending out a postcard, promoting it.
We've already got your money.
They'll send a reminder come later in I think January. They said they'll send a little reminder. Don't forget Galley's next month. But they do have a couple of new guest announcements for 2014. And this was announced the 5th, so we missed it by about a week. David Banks, who was renowned, Keith's favorite Who actor of all time, because in the later classic series years, he was the cyber leader.
Oh, okay.
Every time the Cybermen showed up, David Banks was there.
Name.
He's apparently also written a book, Doctor Who Cybermen, which is largely considered the official history. But he will be there. Rico Ross, who played the Ringmaster in Greatest Show in the Galaxy.
Hope he raps for him.
And then apparently they have also confirmed Deborah Watling would be returning.
Oh, good. Oh.
She was a lovely
So
lady.
they're going to, because they found Enemy of the World and Web of Fear, so they're going to bring
I need
her
to find
in
a way to go back so that I can go back and talk to her again, because I didn't get to go back and talk to her when she got shuffled off last time.
So, small update, but there is that.
Cool.
Speaking of Cybermen, I did pick up 2 in the Cybermen special edition.
Yes, you did. He came in and saw me at work.
Yeah, I was going to come in Friday. I was going to come in Friday, and I ended up... I was up so late on Thursday.
It's your own fault.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, James rented it because we also got in the beginnings box, and so he went ahead and rented it because he's like, I haven't seen some of these in forever. So he went and watched Unearth the Child, and I kept telling him, they're doing the Daleks tonight. You could probably jump on, and he's like, yeah, maybe I'll do that. And I don't think I don't know. I
didn't see him tweet.
But
I think he would have said something Friday Night Who.
He told me he's been kind of working his way through it, watching a little bit in the mornings before he leaves for school or work or whatever. And he says, "Oh yeah, I think I don't know, somewhere up to part 6 or 7." And I was like, "Have they jumped over the gorge yet?" And he started laughing. So obviously he was up to that point, one at a time.
Keith and I both observed that it was a quicker watch this time.
It really
now, part of that's because you're having fun, you're tweeting along, but it went really fast, except for episode 6. Is still just as long as it was the first time we watched it. That would be the course.
I think it was during episode 6 that I got up and updated my iPod.
Oh, hey, we're jumping across the gorge here. I'll be back.
Well, I think we really were under the delusion that it was a 4-parter. And then we were like, no, it must be 6. And then it went to 7. We were like, oh my God, this thing is never going to end. So.
Yeah, when you know it's 7, he said this. When you know it's
When
7,
you know it's
When you know
it's-
it's 7, it's...
Yeah, you know what you're getting into.
I was getting my picture for an upcoming ABCs of Classic Doctor Who, and I forgot that Keys of Marinus was 6 parts until I popped it in. I thought it was 4 for some reason.
All right, well, exciting news at Galley then.
So, yeah.
All right, next up is a big trailer came out this
2
week.
big
finally.
trailers.
Actually, yes, 2.
And a teaser.
And an
teaser?
ident.
A clip.
What clip? Did I miss something?
That was before. Did you-
Oh, that was the one with him and Jen.
yeah, it was like 10
Clara.
seconds.
Yeah, that's right. I did see that one too.
Well, it was Victoria's credentials.
Yes.
Was pretty much all that was said.
Right.
And a puzzling look.
What do you guys think of the trailer?
Ooh, it's exciting.
I was hesitant to go in and watch it because I thought, God, I
We're
really
so
want to
close.
spoil myself.
Yeah.
But just this close. So, we've gone this long
And you know what?
anticipating a trailer.
I don't feel like I know anything more about the episode
I think
than
I know a
do.
lot more.
I don't feel like I know anything more than I knew before.
I think we're definitely. I think this confirmed we're getting Time War. End of the Time War. I think this definitely confirmed that. To me, this definitely confirmed that there will be no other Doctors. But I'm hoping that Sean's still right.
I saw a post
will
somewhere
surprise us.
online with a picture that was saying, "Could this be 8?"
Yeah, it's not. It's strikingly familiar. It strikingly
The
resembles
shadow
him.
in the background.
No,
Yeah.
It's no. It's
That was the one I was.
Oh
that
no,
they
this
were
is,
talking about.
Oh no, this is actually the one I've seen floating online. Is what they're saying is the fall of Arcadia, and there's a woman facing this way. There's a man running this way, and there's a guy that's shuffling the woman off, and he's got just like he almost looks like he's just like regular Gallifreyan regale, not even Time Lord regale, and he's shuffling her off, and it's almost a profile view, and it looks very similar to Paul McGann, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Although, if that is Arcadia, the Doctor tells when he's making was it Donna he's talking to? I was there at the fall of Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know, but I think this pretty much this made me fall more to the side of we're just not going to get any of the classic Doctors in this whatsoever. So
I don't think we are either.
I think I was the same way. I didn't watch it until just before the show.
Oh, really?
Tonight.
Oh,
because I was so
I've
paranoid
been watching it
about
all weekend.
I was so paranoid about.
What's-
I don't want to be spoiled. I don't want to be spoiled. And I asked Mel. I was like, so this trailer leaked while we were doing Friday Night Who, but then they officially released it the next day. Do we want to watch it? She's like, hell no, I don't want to watch that. I was like, okay, good, because I don't think I do either. But then I kind of, because everybody else has watched it, and everybody else is talking about it on Twitter and Facebook.
It's this shot.
Everybody else is going on.
That people are
Yeah, that's the
suspecting.
one.
Oh,
I
and that's
thought
not.
that
No,
could
that's
be
not the
him.
one that's flying all over the place.
That's the one I saw rumored. This is the one.
That's only one, because that's actually the Doctor's walking into. This
That's
is
the
the
one
one
you're talking
and this
about. I
is
could
the
see
one
it.
because everybody's circling it and saying this is him. I can see
can
how
see
it looks very similar. It's
Yeah,
not
right.
him.
I
It
don't think it's
doesn't. It doesn't look like it's definitely him, but I can see where people were getting that hope.
People jump to those conclusions
Yeah.
very quickly.
That is the one though.
But
that
yeah,
I've
I
seen
kind of agree with Keith.
all over
There
the place.
was a lot of stuff presented, and a lot of stuff. Honestly, my gut reaction was underwhelmed. For as much as everybody else had built it up, by the time I finally, all right, let's watch
Really?
it. I was just like, it didn't have
That looked
that.
epic.
Well, it does.
It makes
but
me very excited.
yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm still excited for it, but just as a trailer. When it came up with the save the day at the end, I didn't have goosebumps like I did from the classic 50th trailer, teaser, whatever it was.
The celebration.
The celebration one gave me goosebumps.
Well, the celebration one more was the goosebumps because it just went back over the entire.
Well, and it feels more.
Regalia.
I don't know. It feels more appropriate for a 50th anniversary. This one almost felt like it's an episode.
Another episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that.
It kind of had that feel to it. Now, I kind of agree with Keith that I don't know that there's much. I don't feel spoiled. I think they solidified some stuff that we kind of have suspected.
Did you expect to see Bad Wolf Rose?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I really did.
I knew the Bad Wolf would play into this. I didn't expect.
Well, it was
I
on
didn't
the
expect to
trailer.
see the glowy eyes.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it was in the trailer.
on the
That's what I'm saying.
poster.
It was just, but it just said Bad Wolf, so I knew that they were going to use
so
it. But the
it just
Daleks
didn't
are in
surprise
this.
me.
We knew the Daleks were in
Yeah,
this, and that's
it's
what
like
Bad Wolf
when
is.
the Daleks are running around through
I didn't
rubble,
expect to
it's kinda
see
like, okay.
the heart of the TARDIS still materialized in Rose. I did not expect to see that.
I never gave a thought about that.
I never expected to see that. I still wasn't entirely sure they'd go the whole Time War route, but there's going to be a lot more of the Time War.
There's going to be a lot more Time War than what I think.
There's a lot more taking place on Gallifrey than I sort of expected, because I just had this whole Victorian setting. We've got Queen Elizabeth first.
I don't necessarily know if there will be.
There's going
to be some, but I think
it's going to be about half and half.
I don't think it's going to be that heavy.
That's how I'm coming off on this one.
I'm coming off on the Cybermen and
see everything.
There's a lot more.
Everybody's jumping on that one, going, "Oh, the moment." She says the moment is or whatever.
I think we're going to get 15 minutes of the Time War, and that's it.
The moment is
near.
The moment is near. The moment is
coming. Whatever she says.
The moment is coming. Yeah.
I don't know that it's the moment.
You know why? It's because you guys don't want to ruin the mystery of the Time War, and I've always said I'd like to see some more of this Time War.
I'd like to see some more of it, but I also don't want to know everything.
But I'll tell you, here's what I want to happen now, because I haven't listened to Dark Eyes, but everybody I've ever seen review it said that it really feels like a lead up to the Time War, and I hope that's true. And I hope that what they do is they finally address the Time War in the series proper now, and then we're done with it. And then I think that they need to do Dark Eyes 2, and that focuses on McGann's involvement in the Time War. And I think they need to answer all of those questions.
Once we address it in the series proper, let Big Finish run with it.
Let Big Finish run with it. Go ahead.
I'd be okay with that.
Do it. Let's do it. That's what I think needs to happen.
Here's an interesting.
To me, there's going to be more Zygons than I suspected. So.
What if John Hurt is a Zygon? They are shapeshifters. What if the doctors are all freaked out over the idea that, oh my God, this lost doctor who fought the Time War and did all these horrible things? No, it's a Zygon pulling your chain.
Could be. That's a good point.
And what if Keith, plug ears?
No.
the Watcher at the end of and laying there after falling off the thing, the moment has been prepared for.
Oh, he does say that, doesn't he?
He does say that, doesn't he?
That would be cool.
Ooh.
I think you're reading way too much into it. But that would be cool.
The Watcher was John Hurt.
Here's the other thing that I think is cool, and this is going to tie into our review of the Demons this week. I'm so glad that I found this out.
It's pronounced Dæmons.
You know who the girl that's wearing the Fourth Doctor scarf is? You know who she is? Her name on IMDb, she's scientist like Irma Osgood.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think she is Sergeant Osgood from the Demons' daughter. It's spelled exactly the same way. I just say Osgood.
Yeah, Osgood.
That's right. It's Osgood. Okay, yeah, Osgood. I think they're doing this nice little subtle tie.
Okay.
She's now the scientific advisor. She's the
descendant. What happened to Malcolm?
I don't know.
Fired him.
Well,
he probably went into private. He developed the Malcolm.
He saved the world and moved on.
And now he's working in private industry, making a lot of money.
Right.
That's what it is.
I did think that was cool. All of the shots of the companions that are on that back wall of Unit. I thought that was pretty neat. That's a neat little nod.
See, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, when they walk in, and I had to see. I don't
remember
watched
any
the trailer.
stuff,
I watched the trailer. Oh, there's one shot where they walk into that room.
It depends on if
and
you
Kate's in there.
I've not. I watched it once before we came here.
I went into this and I watched it several times. And then I got on the internet and started looking. People started pointing out, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see that?" So then I watch it again. And I go, "Okay, they're talking about those pictures on that back wall." And it's a lot more clear that one of them at least is.
Well, Martha better be up on
Caroline
that.
John. I can't remember who else.
She was
there. I mean, you can't see them very quick, but.
See, I saw Daleks and John Hurt. That's pretty much all I remember.
Well, we got Zygons.
And Rose and a Zygon. That's all I remember.
We got very little of the guy that's playing Queen Elizabeth. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, we got very little of Kate, too, but they announced she was... I just saw no Donna, which everybody's speculating that Donna's in this.
I don't know why.
Didn't see any other doctors.
See, I think a good trailer gives away a lot of excitement without giving away a lot of the plots. And that's why I don't think we're going to get a lot of Time War. Is because a lot of the action of this story is going to be the Time War. And so that's going to be a very small part of the actual episode.
I get to say ha-ha in 2 weeks.
Hey!
You were wrong.
We'll see.
I wonder if Russell T. Davies has a co-writing credit.
I don't know, because there's a lot.
of,
Moffat has borrowed a lot. I think he wants to
in
tie up some loose ends. I think that's what it boils down to.
Like, why the TARDIS exploded?
Interestingly enough, this feels
that's
like...
going to wait for Christmas.
No, wait. This one feels like Moffat is tying up loose ends from the RTD era, and the Christmas special, he'll be tying up loose ends from his era. That's really the way I feel like he's playing this out. I like that. I like that a lot.
Unravel a whole new sweater for
I
the
hope
next
so.
season.
That's what needs to happen. That'll be great.
I'm not seeing
That'll be
this
great.
where all the pictures are.
Go to Blocked or Who. They've got a trailer 1 and trailer 2 breakdown. Both trailers are great. I thought the second trailer was a lot better.
The second trailer is much better. The first trailer is too...
It's
cramped.
TV trailer.
Well, yeah.
The second one is more of a movie trailer.
Yeah, I'll give you that, because we watched the first trailer first, and I wasn't impressed with it at all. And I think the reason why is once I saw the second trailer, they allowed the separate elements a little more room to breathe right at the beginning, as opposed to cramming in Daleks, explosions, time war, the Doctor's voiceover, and music. And it was just, I couldn't understand any of what was going on. Then I saw the second trailer and went, oh, that's what he said.
Now, the BBC A trailer, I'm glad I saw the first two, because that one was a piece of junk. It uses all the same clips, but the narrative isn't as well done. And then, of course, they have to slam that.
Save the day.
Save the day. No. They don't even slam that. They slam that Doctor Who.
The bad voiceover
November 23rd on
You mean the Mark Sheppard?
the BBC.
Isn't that Mark Sheppard?
Yeah, it's Mark Sheppard.
Not the way Glenn was doing.
They slam that on the end. No, it's just...
he just doesn't do a very good voiceover.
No, I can't do it. But they slam that on the end, and I'm like, oh,
Doctor
that was so abrupt.
November 23rd on BBC.
Yeah, it's not even that. No, it's not even that rich.
Put the headphones back on.
No, it's not even that rich. It's Doctor Who. I mean, he's got a little higher voice than that. That's the problem. I've never liked him as a voiceover. Of course, I don't like him as an actor either. No, I don't like him as a person. He's a pretty good actor.
There you go.
All right. Anything else to talk about the trailer? I mean,
I don't think
exciting
so.
stuff. And then, of course, they had the little ident thing, which, if anybody doesn't know, they put idents are between shows to identify to the viewers who you're watching, BBC One in this case, and the Doctor breaks into one of them briefly. It's really kind of clever.
Yeah.
So. Cool. Well, let's move on. BBC A has announced that they will virtually be
Doctor Who is taking over for the week of the anniversary.
They'll virtually be doing a lot of the same things that BBC One will be doing, which is nice.
Some of the standouts include Tales from the TARDIS, The Science of Doctor Who.
With Brian Cox?
Yes.
Not the actor, the astrophysicist.
I was way more excited.
Because the actor will be in an Adventure in Space and Time.
Yes.
Oh, that's
which
right.
is
He will
premiering
be,
too.
yeah.
Doctor Who Explained.
Well, Brian Cox, the astrophysicist, has already been in an episode of Doctor Who.
Also true.
And that there will be a encore of Day of the Doctor, which we kind of expected a primetime encore. Graham Norton show with Matt and David, and also wrapping it up is the 8th Doctor Revisited, or 11th Doctor Revisited.
That'll be on Sunday, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And lots of marathons.
Yeah, we got a 9 marathon, a 10 marathon, and I think
3 11 marathons. Then
Keith calls it 3 11s.
They call it part 1, part 2, part 3.
It's 2 11 marathons and 1 fan favorite.
No, there is.
Then they've changed
part
this.
3 countdown. That's what I was trying to tell you.
But this is one. The only reason they separated it is because they've got something in between. That's why. Yeah.
I guess
to me, the marathon
1 a.m. to 2 p.m.
The second part of it has been split up. So.
No, it's still 3.
Oh, 1 a.m. to 2
1
p.m.
a.m. to 2
all
p.m.
right. I'll give you that.
In either case, there's a whole heap of Doctor Who.
There's a whole heap of
Matt
11.
Smith is what it is. Yeah.
And on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. is the top 11 episodes from the 11th Doctor as voted by fans.
That's cool.
It seems kind of redundant
the
to then
top
follow
11
it up.
episodes of the 11th Doctor.
Yeah. It seems a little redundant to follow it up with the 11th Doctor Revisited. Oh, look, we're going to talk about all these stories we just watched.
That's true. Well, actually, that's not a bad idea.
They're going to highlight all of them.
That's not a bad idea.
For those that don't want to sit down and watch them. Yeah. For those that don't want to sit and watch all of them.
And then what is the 11th Doctor Revisited episode that will follow?
Impossible Astronaut Daily.
That's right. I couldn't remember what it was. I knew that we knew what it was.
Oh, great. The one that completely doesn't reflect anything.
So there you
I'm
go.
teasing.
BBCA, I think, is doing a nice job representing on the 50th anniversary. Very cool.
So essentially, you can almost turn on BBC America anytime that week and
catch Doctor Who.
Makes me wish I had BBC America.
Is anybody else... Don't get me wrong. I'm excited. It's 50th anniversary. It's on all the time. This would have been unheard of 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Is anybody else a little upset that it's all new Who?
I think they should have done some.
I think they
classic.
should. If you're going to put Doctor
really,
Who on all the time, why not sprinkle a few classics?
Or even instead of the countdown.
But aren't the classics? Somebody else
do a
has
marathon
of
all of the revisiteds before the 11th Doctor revisited.
Well, let's be fair. Somebody else who has some is running the classics over there now, right? Didn't I understand that there's a televition network
the BBC
over there now?
2 or 3 or something?
No, it's not one of the other
BBC 4 is getting an Unearthly Child, and that's a big deal.
Well, there's some. Well, we'll move on here in a little bit.
What did they do?
We'll
license them out after they rescued them from Nigeria and decided?
I'll drop that bomb now because that actually has been put on hold right now.
Has it been canceled?
Well, it's not canceled. It's on hold, and the reason being is because of this challenge we're going to talk about in a little bit. Yeah. So, but if somebody else has it over there, here's my point. If somebody can clarify this for me, but if somebody over there, they're probably doing their own marathon. So it's on your television somewhere. So it makes sense.
But why not BBC America, though?
But it makes sense. Well, it makes sense that the BBC, because the BBC America, it still boils down to the fact that they make money.
They make money on New Who.
On New Who, and because they're making money. So, if you want the honest truth, it's what they paid for to get advertising dollars to get people to watch, and they're not going to make that draw with Classic Who. Now, should they do something very late at night? Yes. When they don't
the overnight hours,
when the ads when the ads are at smaller cost. Yes, I would love to see that happen, and that's probably what should happen. But no, it does not surprise me, and it doesn't disappoint me because I understand how that works.
And aside from the revisited, which is revisited specials, classics have never aired on BBC America, from what I understand. And it sounds like it was some work to get revisited classics.
I'm still very much in that frustrated camp of it's 50 years of television, guys. You've got to acknowledge something other than the last 10.
Yeah.
I really fall down on that.
Yeah.
That as much as I appreciate it, as much as I love it, as much as I'm enjoying it, you can't just throw me that half-hour special and say, we came from this, and I don't know.
That's how BBC America works.
I know.
That's how television works. So,
just disappointed.
Unfortunately, that's how some fandom works too.
Yeah, it's the bottom dollar is what we're shooting for. So, all right. I told you not to open those vintage or those vinyl figures.
Oh.
Oops.
Oops.
My computer's trying
Next
to take off.
Next on the news, the last ebook.
Yeah, it's going to be written by Neil Gaiman.
Yay.
Neil Gaiman!
It's called Nothing O'Clock.
It's a very Neil Gaiman title.
Yeah, because it's not the 11th hour.
Nothing O'Clock.
I wonder if he'll fix the Nightmare in Silver.
Fix it?
Yeah. I need to go back and rewatch it. The more I think, the more I dwell on it, the more I'm not happy with it.
Okay.
But
I did rewatch it with Caitlin and enjoyed it much more the second time.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well, okay.
I'd have more about this, but my computer's like, okay, here we go. Do you guys want a synopsis?
No.
Okay.
All right, next up.
I wanted a synopsis.
All right, give him the synopsis. I got to get my sonic screwdriver ready anyway.
Thousands of years ago, Time Lords built a prison for the kin. They made it utterly impregnable and unreachable. As long as the Time Lords existed, the kin would be trapped forever and the universe would be safe. They had planned for everything that is other than the Time War and the fall of Gallifrey. Now the kin are free again, and there's only one Time Lord left in the universe who can stop them. I find it interesting that it's going to be Amy. I kind of expected it to be Clara. With the new line of books that are Clara and everything. Mm-hmm. But it's Amy. Not even Rory. Just Amy.
Cool. Just Amy.
Just Amy. Well, I like Amy. Don't get me wrong.
I don't think that app does what you think it does.
I'm trying to get back around because I just discovered something else that's really, really actually super cool.
Next up, I don't know who they... have released official...
Useless Creations is the name of the company.
Well, that's not the BBC. How can it be official?
Well, it's still licensed by the BBC.
The official virtual sonic screwdriver app.
To Entertain does the
well, that's true.
DVDs, but they're still officially
we haven't
BBC.
talked about Supermassive Games officially putting the axe on Eternity Clock
I didn't think
games.
you want to bring it up since you're upset.
Or the possible delay in the last audio go.
No, they released it early.
No.
The 11th Doctor one?
The Time Machine may or may not. You're thinking IDW.
No.
Yes.
No, the last
I'm thinking
books
audiobook.
is out.
Yeah, it released early.
It's
The
dropped.
Time Machine?
Yeah, they dropped it.
Oh, they fixed it?
Dusting of the Doctors?
What was wrong with it?
So there were okay, maybe I'm behind.
Maybe it shut down.
Right.
Because they shut down. And Big Finish had a thing on their Facebook page about, because of the going-ons with this, we're not sure where we stand with the Time Machine. And everybody was like, oh, well, I hope we get it. And they were just like, we don't know yet. That was the last that I heard. So
that was like weeks ago, though. That was back when they were before they actually closed.
Oh, was it?
They were like, there's some question as to where this is going to be.
Okay.
And they closed last week officially, and I thought that was they
released it before.
went ahead and pushed it out so that it got out there before. I may be wrong now, but that's what I read.
I'm trying to go to Big Finish's website.
I haven't been to Big Finish to find out.
I've been off
sure.
the grid, so I assumed that was official
Anyway,
word, but maybe I'm wrong.
It's a
I'm
lot of
sorry.
stuff
Continue with your story
There's a lot of
first.
stuff not on
They've got a really cool sonic screwdriver app now for the iPhone, and I'm presuming the iPad, but it'll
Useless
be the
creation,
iPhone
yes.
version of it. And it's really cool because you can see it uses your camera, and it puts it in front of the camera, and you can see what you're using it on. And then, of course, when you light it up, your light comes on. And you can set various frequencies. And if you shake the phone on the 11th Doctor screwdriver, it opens up for the readout mode. And what I just found out...
It has 10, right?
What I discovered was that, you can actually go back and you can go and move over to the next one, and it has 10 screwdriver. And you can do all the same things with it. And then what I found out just as I was loading this app up, again, you can go over one more, and you get the 4th and 5th Doctor screwdriver.
That's not what that sounds like. Get closer.
That's it. It's as high as it goes. And then I found you go over one more, and you get the 3rd Doctor's sonic screwdriver.
Ooh, does it have the first Doctor's?
The 1st Doctor?
Or the 2nd Doctor's?
The 1st Doctor didn't have sonic. And then
It
if you
did,
go
too.
over
Just
one
didn't make any
more...
noise.
No, you go back to the 11th.
Oh, darn. Almost the perfect app.
Because the other one was a pen light.
The official virtual sonic
That
screwdriver.
doesn't make it any less.
It would just be a pen light and a torch. And maybe that's why they didn't add it. They didn't want to burn anything.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't include rivers, actually.
I'm not surprised.
That's a question. We're not going to ask any questions. No questions.
And then
Why won't
finally,
you go to this website?
the BBC has a lawsuit pending.
Yes.
Bomb.
Is being challenged over the ownership of the copyright of the TARDIS by the son of the author of the first Doctor Who
The
story,
character of the TARDIS.
Anthony Coburn. He's claiming that his father created the TARDIS and that he remembers his father was getting the inspiration for it during a walk in Wimbledon Common, and he believes the BBC is failing to give his father the public recognition that should by rights always have been his due for inventing the TARDIS.
A little background for the listeners. If you didn't know, back in the day, in the 60s and I think even through the 70s, writers were essentially contracted out. They didn't work necessarily for the BBC. What happened was any of the property that was written for the BBC was sole property of the BBC, with the exception of characters, which is why Terry Nation and the estate retained the right to the Daleks. That's why there are certain characters. The Brigadier, as a matter of fact, was one of them that was retained by the initial writer of the story with the Brig, and so on and so forth. And I think what this man who is challenging is trying to do is to prove the fact that since even in The Doctor's Wife, Neil Gaiman has essentially personified the fact that the TARDIS is a character, that his father and the estate is due all of this back money that was not paid to them, is essentially where the meat of this is, and what lawyers will probably try to argue. Now, will they win? No. But and the BBC, while they couldn't copyright police boxes, they do have a copyright on the outline of the TARDIS. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Oh.
How much trouble are we in?
I think it's the outlining of specific orientation, which we don't use.
The Time Machine, according to the Big Finish website, has not been released.
Well, there you go. Maybe it is all. Maybe
now I must investigate more.
Sean's onto something. So
it happens occasionally. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, that's supposed to be out this month, or was originally supposed to be out this month sometime.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was December. Still,
no, it said November.
Always been November.
It's always been November.
Yeah,
I guess it is the yeah, because it's the 11th Doctor story.
Well, okay. The Doctor Who on the Big Finish's website, it says, with Audio Go now in administration, we can't comment. What?
Administration is what they were in first. Now they're in.
I think this was posted November 8th.
Oh, okay. Then that's most recent.
So they're still, I'm assuming, in administration.
Well, they are. Administration means they're done. They're gone.
Oh.
There's two terms over there that I couldn't remember which one was which, and I don't remember what the first one is. The first one meant they were trying to find a buyer. This one means they're insolvent. They're done.
They did not find a buyer.
And they said we can't comment further on this at the present time, but we hope to make an announcement soon. So, whoa.
I think it's in good hands. Big Finish will figure out a way to distribute it. We just may get it later than sooner. So,
well, wasn't there a box set?
Not out yet.
Didn't you show me a box set, though, that was coming?
That was probably planned, but that would be...
There's a box set I saw that was soundtracks.
That would be...
Did you see that box set?
Oh, my God.
There's a soundtrack box set. But that was not...
Is that the one you're thinking of?
No, yeah, that one.
That was an Audio Go, was it?
Yeah.
Was that Audio Go?
No, but that was just soundtracks. That's the one he's thinking of.
Yeah.
No, it was
those are soundtracks.
the stories, I thought.
I
thought you showed it to me, and it was
the
all
TARDIS
10
one is
Destiny of the Doctor stories. Or 11.
Yeah, it might have been.
There might be. I don't know.
I thought...
I don't
Why do you show me these things?
I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the soundtrack collection, which I think isn't a nice TARDIS.
I might have thought it was
boxing.
Destiny of the Doctor instead.
I thought it was Destiny of the Doctor when you showed it to me. Did you know that Audio Go did the story of Martha?
That explains something. Wait, what story of Martha?
The story.
The book?
That
Not
book.
the book.
Yes.
They did the audio book.
It's the audio book. Freema reads.
Yeah.
The story of Martha.
Oh.
Yeah. They did a lot of stuff. That was BBC. That was BBC Books' audio arm, is what it was. There's a lot of audio books that Audio Go released.
Yeah, well, no wonder they went bankrupt. They did the story of Martha.
Well, that wasn't the only one they did.
That wasn't Audio Go's fault that the author wrote a bad book.
It's true, because the book's just equally as bad.
In fact, the audio book may be improved a little bit because you do have Martha in your ear.
Yeah.
I don't know if that could have even saved it.
Okay, anyway.
Okay, so I'm going to do more digging and hopefully...
We'll have that for the next show, because we shouldn't be drawing our attention off to something else that's not really that big of a deal. I mean, it'll get resolved. Everything will be fine. Don't everybody worry about it.
Freak out!
We should...
freak out!
We should draw for a winner.
We should draw for a winner.
Is that what we're doing now?
We are going to do that now. Your Titan vinyls. That is the sound of names in Keith's Fez, or the Doctor's Fez.
It's the official Doctor's Fez.
The official Doctor's Fez.
Tasseless.
Keith is shaking up now.
Tasseless
anybody
Doctor's
that's a new listener,
Fez.
if you're just joining us, we challenged the listeners to purchase the iTunes missing episode, the iTunes versions of the missing episodes, because I think Keith and Sean, I can speak for, believe that will help in stocking the coffers in order to get more missing episodes and get them to us sooner. And we had a lot of people that met our challenge, and we're much appreciative again for everybody that participated, and those that weren't able to participate but still downloaded the episodes. A warm thank you from myself, because that's very incredible that everybody went out and did that, and especially the people that we're going to draw. So we are drawing three names.
We're going to get some music for you here.
Oh, okay. We're drawing 3 names, And we will have 3 winners, so it's just the top 3 names that are drawn out of the hat. Some of you know that you had 2 entries because you got 1 entry for each episode that you bought. Some only had 1. So good luck to everybody. Here we go.
Good luck.
First up,
Our first winner is Brittany.
Yay!
Brittany wins a Titan vinyl figure. Next up,
you need the longer edition.
we're trying to mix these really good because I don't know how well Keith mixed them. Oh, you were over here shaking them for a long
I
time.
know it was.
Holly. Holly wins one of the vinyls.
Yay!
And lastly,
But not
we
least,
shuffle around these names here again.
why do we not play again?
We'll do it together.
Too late. I don't care anymore.
And our last winner is London Eye. So, congratulations. And you, in my opinion, you're all winners because you got some really great, terrific Doctor Who on your whatever device you watch your Doctor Who. Did you still have those names in your hat? You put it on your head. Good luck taking that off.
It's all itchy.
You're going to go all over the place. What we'll do is we need each one of you to independently send us an email with your contact information, your address, where we can send you your prices. And again, the winners are Holly, Brittany, and London Eye. We just realized tonight we don't actually know London Eye's real name.
Hey, how come I'm not on any of these pieces of paper? This contest was rigged, I say.
You're not. You don't qualify.
I bought both of them.
Yeah. I wasn't going to turn around and give you a vinyl fig that you were potentially going to buy. Congratulations to everybody.
Congratulations.
Right.
Hopefully you enjoyed this contest because we have an idea for another one down the line.
We do.
We do?
Yes.
We do! Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary.
We have some more prizes. So.
We do have more
those
prizes, but we
yes.
just haven't figured out how we're going to do it yet.
Our fabulous prize pack of game show proportions.
We would rather plan this contest out ahead of time as opposed to
Last
doing
minute.
it on the fly. So
This would be different from normal for us a lot.
I think people would be surprised at how far scheduled things are and planned.
you think so?
Just not contests.
No, just not contests.
All right.
Mastermind over here has all next year figured out.
I do not. Just mostly. A bit.
A beach.
A bit.
Need a beat.
A beach. All right, next up then is feedback.
Yeah.
What's it all about?
I want to do a little something special here, so you guys are going to have to give me a second because I
thought you were ready.
Well, I was trying. You guys were talking.
We were stalling.
You were
Glenn.
stalling, and you didn't.
You weren't doing
adequately-
this, so we stopped. Oh, he is doing this now.
Are
Okay.
you showing?
You just weren't watching. No. I'm not used to pulling these things up on my iPad, so
Yeah, now you know my pain.
Oh, for those who may not be able to go to the movie showing in their area, double check your screenings because some of them have added second showings. So now
That's
I got to
true.
go in to see the
That's
big
right.
screen.
Yes, that's true. We added a 10 o'clock showing here.
I'm very excited now. First up in feedback
Speaking
is
of.
Scott. He wrote in,
Hey, Scott.
So, the anti-Scott from Philadelphia conspiracy continues. But I have to say, I thought everyone in the Midwest were experts on classic rock. Another stereotype shattered.
Oh, we know everything there is to know about Kansas.
You're getting your ideas from Supernatural, Scott. He continues, if you need a couple of clues, someone to highlights to the cover of this tune back in the 90s, and the Led Zepp version is on their Houses of the Holy album. Once you find the song, look up the original lyrics, and my version makes much more sense. Geesh, how much work do I gotta do? On a serious note, I'm sorry for the loss in Sean's extended family. I send my best wishes to all.
Oh, well, thank you, Scott.
very good. All right, I got that ready. Now I got to get one other thing because I got to get my. Doctor days are here again as the autumn evenings grow. We have 10 and 11. Number 9 didn't show. But yeah, it's alright. You know it's alright. The doctor's still in my heart. He won't be lonely. No, never lonely. Sean says they all have a part. Clara's going to be there, and we'll definitely get Rose. Some say Donna will be present, and a doctor nobody knows. But yeah, it's alright. I said it's alright. The doctor's still in my heart. We won't be lonely. No, never lonely. Sean says they all have a part. A lot of instrumental here.
Drum solo!
The doctor says, Claire, I'll get you home. But the Zygons, there they are. And I'll shout, exterminate! They're scarier by far. But yeah, it's alright. I said it's alright. Everybody's hurt, hurt, hurt. With the day of the doctor, who will turn 50 on November 23rd. Doctor days are here again, as the autumn evenings slow. Just name the hour, turn on the power, the anticipation grows. I said it's alright, you know it's alright. The doctor's still in my heart. You know soon only, yes soon it's only time for Capaldi to start. I know I can't wait. There you go.
Very nice.
Do I make those faces when I do this?
I don't know what kind of faces I was making there, but there you go. So now I've done a song, and I've fulfilled Scott's, hopefully, hope for what should have happened last week. So.
You have my profound congratulations on that.
Now I don't have to do a song for a long time.
That is your anniversary present, folks.
Yes, absolutely.
Surprises abound. Does it make me way less cool if I say now, even having listened to it,
I still don't
I
know
don't
the
know
song.
that song either.
It's on Houses of the Holy, if you want to go look it up. So.
The only thing I know about Houses of the Holy is that according to Bill, there are many steps and columns.
And naked women.
And naked women.
Well,
not so much
little girls, but that's here nor there.
we went back in time to ancient Greece. It looked like the Led Zeppelin album, Houses of the Holy. There were many steps and columns. That's all I know. Not the biggest Zeppelin fan. That was cool, though.
That was very well done.
Very well done. I would ask him how long it took. You worked with him this week. How much time did he spend on that?
I didn't know he had done it until he sat down here.
Really?
Yeah. He stepped away, by the way.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about him in the third person like he's gone, like he's right here.
He materialized away. What happened to him?
He dropped the mic and just boom.
Yeah, he dropped the mic and walked off. There was a waiting limousine outside. He got in it and drove away.
Good night, everybody.
So now
Elvis has left the building.
Sorry.
How long did that take you to write?
About a half hour, maybe.
Once inspiration strikes, that's how long it took me for
mine.
mine.
They just really started. Well, again, I had help from Scotty, got me started, and then from there it just it rolled out. And I thought, I'm going to do, it's the 50th anniversary coming up. I'm going to do a tribute. We're looking forward to the future. So,
see, now you make me really look bad that I apparently don't have a half hour to an hour that I could devote to these feedback songs. But.
Well, part of that was because I listened over and over again to make sure my words fit and everything. Because I'm familiar with that song, but it's not one of those songs that I can do in my head all the time. So I had to listen to the song a lot, which I did a lot this week. But even writing it, I kind of went back over it and I changed a few lines,
tweaked it.
Yeah, tweaked it, and then I found a karaoke version of it so that I completely got Zeppelin out of there altogether.
Well done. Not since Doctor in Distress have we had such a monumental.
Hopefully that was better.
See, and I give you very much credit for what you did, but let you off the hook because just coming up with the ideas for what songs
week
to do
is
a lot of work. Just trying
impressive.
to come up with a song.
That's impressive.
Is really hard. I went through like 6 trying to figure out what the right song would be.
Well, thank you.
Who's next, Glenn? I forgot the order I gave him to you.
That's okay. Next up is Dr. Phil, and he sent us some audio. So let's give it a listen.
Hey, happy Halloween to everyone in the Vortex. It's Dr. Phil here. I'm on my usual spot, which is on the road. I guess there's some kind of rainy thunderstorms coming through the Midwest. I'm on my way to Michigan to do a series of concerts of Polish Baroque music that I've spent the last year working on. So you can imagine as I finished my lecture on Tuesday, that's about his 11th hour. Nudge, nudge, Doctor Who reference, say no more. That one can get. But anyway, I wanted to send in some feedback early before you guys get to Terror of the Zygons. One of my favorite stories of that era, and I was really looking forward to this particular DVD, and I was looking forward to it so much, I know my wife bought it for me for Father's Day. Yes, great, sure it's going to be a little after Father's Day, but then the BBC Worldwide moved the release date back to October. Damn. Hey, and also, one thing I also learned is that the Blu-ray of Doctor Who, the Daleks, and Dalek Invasion of Earth are not in our region. So I had to return that to Amazon, which was also a bit of a drag. And that was also a few months after the fact as well. So, nonetheless, there's something for your listeners. I have the whole set of the DVDs, so if it doesn't come out on Blu-ray in the States, I'm not hurting for it. But anyway, back to Zygons. I listened to some feedback to the 20 Megabyte Doctor Who podcast, and I was watching Zygons, and I got really strangely emotional, and I realized doing the math that I hadn't watched it in over 20 years, and realized that last time I watched it was with my dad shortly before he died, which in our household, my older brother dominated the television with Planet of the Apes, my twin brother dominated the television with Star Trek The Next Generation, but I dominated the TV with Doctor Who and had been watching it since, I think, shortly after age 10. Like in 86 is when I started watching it and waited for the whole rotation to get around. And I have a real fondness for this story. It's great to see it in its episodic version because I saw it in omnibus like many of us watching PBS did back then. And that part 1 cliffhanger of the Zygon reaching for Sarah while she's on the phone, that is the beginning of some serious Hinchcliffe scariness for Series 13. Although Zygons was originally intended to close Series 12, and one thing that's great about it is that you really get a sense of this arc, you might even call it an arc in space, from Robot straight through to Terror of the Zygons. Because at the end of Revenge of the Cybermen, you can see the little ticker tape as the Doctor goes into the TARDIS and comes out with the message from the Brigadier that he's got to get back to Earth. And so was really looking forward to this story. I forgot how wonderful the music by Jeffrey Bergen is, and I forget who directed this story, but it's the same as who directed Seeds of Doom, and so they didn't particularly like Dudley Simpson very much, so they used Jeffrey Bergen. And in Zygons, I find it a bit more effective because there's some microtonal stuff going on, meaning for intervals of less than a half step, so it goes in and out of tune rather deliberately, and it makes it feel rather unsettlingly organic, which is kind of perfect being Zygons, the attack of the amazing pizza people. And I mean, I say that with affection because I think their costumes are among the most effective of the era. I mean, every great classic, and I would count Zygons among my favorites because I love the TARDIS team of Fourth Doctor, Harry, and Sarah. Is that they have it, they're Scarasan, they're Murka too. No! But anyway, despite that, it's a very good story. There's some great special effects. The fleeing the Zygon spaceship is really well done, simply having the model in the foreground and everyone running in the background. No CSO, just doing it in camera. That's kind of one of the reasons why I love special effects in the black and white era. I think that the color with all the CSO stuff shows off the seams a lot worse than just doing it, in very clever ways like this. The effect of people transforming into Zygons or from their human copies was also very cool. I thought it was great that you didn't get the real idea of who the villains were until well into the piece, which I thought was a nice slow burn, very atmospheric. Very great performance put in by Nicholas Courtney. It's like the Clan Stewart. Oh, I loved him in a kilt. And that just the chemistry between the Brig, Baker, Sladen, and Martyr in that scene alone is worth the price of admission. Great final performances by Benton and the Brigadier together. I will hold my hand up and swear that I think Zygon's a better send-off for Unit in the Tom Baker era than either the Seeds of Doom or the Android Invasion. Not that I think that those are bad stories, but I think you get a real feeling of the Unit as a group, for the last time since Robot and the Pertwee era. So, anyway, that's just my opinion. Feel free to disagree, or vehemently agree. I wouldn't mind that either. Anyway, so I just wanted to send in those thoughts. Wish everyone a happy Halloween. I don't remember which week you're doing Zygons. I just want to make sure I got in my feedback in time. So this might be heard late, but I'm going to get back to my drive, heading to Indiana first to pick up a harpsichord and then off to Michigan. So anyway, hope everyone has a great holiday and let's have more fun traveling in the Vortex. Take care, gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dr. Phil. And you may have noticed that it was talking about Zygons. He had an issue on his end sending when he went to send the app failed apparently. So
he attempted
never got
to get
it.
this in last week's show, but
so we didn't get it, but he got it in this time. And I agree with a lot of what he said about Zygons.
I would agree. I think it's the best send off for Unit as a whole.
Well, they're not really in the other two.
Well,
they
Benton
are,
is,
but
and Harry. But I mean, really, as our team, our core team.
Our core team is not there, so I don't think it counts. I agree with almost everything you said, Phil.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
I can't agree with everything he says because I'm a suck up.
Up next is
well, you have to agree that he was headed to Indiana, and then going over to Michigan. So.
That seemed like a lot of unnecessary information for Mr. Big, didn't it?
Ready?
Got a Wayne's World reference in it. Brenda writes the dictionary, checking in.
Right? That's who's saying.
Oh, hang on. I have to convert this because Glenn apparently replied. So it's giving me the reply.
I have already replied to this because I felt so guilty. Because it's not my fault.
It is your fault.
It's your fault.
It's totally my fault. Let's read what Brenda has to say. Dear Vortex Gang, I don't have much to say of note other than how much I have enjoyed watching the no longer missing episodes. The more I see of Patrick Troughton, the more I love him. I especially enjoyed his double act in Enemy of the World, and I look forward to a time when you review these episodes and I can weigh in more completely. By the time you read this feedback, we will have seen the trailer for Day of the Doctor, and I will be in an even greater state of anticipation. You may have seen on my Facebook page that I was able to get tickets to the 3D cinema showing on the 23rd. The only Atlanta showing that day is in a suburb 45 minutes south of Atlanta. But I will gladly make that drive in appreciation because I know most folks in the U.S. won't get that chance. So Traveling the Vortex will be represented in the house that day. Yay! My main reason to write in today is to do my pronunciation thing. I know I'm annoying at times, but I just love words and love for them to be pronounced correctly. The Brits sometimes stick an extra A into words that have a long E sound, but it doesn't change the pronunciation. I don't know what anachronistic language thing influences these spellings, but Dæmons is still pronounced like demons, and orthopedics is still pronounced like orthopedics. I wasn't going to try and put an A in that one.
Orthopedics.
Orthopedics.
Obviously, she's written these out with the AE combination.
Yes. I noted as I watched Broadchurch last month that when they accused one character of being a pedophile, which they pronounced with a long E, they spelled it pedophile, or pedo for short. That's my Merriam-Webster contribution for the day. Hope it didn't annoy too much. Counting the days till the 23rd, Brenda in Atlanta.
It's funny that you went with the pedophile, and you did pedophile the way they do it correctly, or that way, and then you said it out, pedophile, or here we would say pedophile.
Pedophile.
And we'd say it almost with an AE sound.
The first time I heard pedophile, I was like, what are they saying?
I've watched British Farm. No, I knew what they were saying.
Cloud.
Their kids will call, like, creepers or whatever on a lot of shows, like some of the ones I'm watching, Skins and what's the other one that I've been watching?
Misfits, I think.
Yeah,
Misfits, they did it.
Yeah.
But they'll say pedo. They call somebody a pedo. That's like a derogatory term because they're stalking kids. A pedo. And that took me the longest time. A pedophile, somebody said pedophile, I go, oh, okay, that's totally not what they mean. But pedo kept throwing me off. And it wasn't until it was put in context in one of the shows I watched that went, oh, it's short for pedophile. I got it, okay.
We say it like
Brenda, I've already addressed this with you in an email because I felt like I needed to. But the Dæmons is more of an inside joke that's been going on much longer than it possibly should have gone on.
We like
and
to
in
beat
fact,
a dead horse
I think
around
back
here,
in the day, I used to correct Sean all the time, saying it is still the Dæmons, and then I have fallen into saying the Dæmons because that's how Sean jokingly does it, and so we apologize because we do
the
respect.
Says Damon.
We did find that he says he does say
They
the
say
Dæmons.
Damon.
But we do recognize that actually is pronounced demons. But unfortunately, you're the victim of a poorly long-running joke.
It started. I don't know why my brain makes these weird associations, but sometimes it does. If you've seen Team America, they kind of poke a little fun at Matt Damon in Team America, and it's Matt Damon. That's kind of his only line through the whole thing. Matt Damon. And so when I saw the Dæmons pronounced or spelled Damon, that's what popped into my head was Matt Damon in Team America going, Matt Damon. So that's why I started going, the Dæmons. I don't know why. That's just what popped in there. And yes, the fact that you corrected me every single time made me all the more resolute that I was going to mispronounce it on purpose every single time.
Especially to spite me.
Yeah, it pretty much was it. So, Brenda, I apologize profusely for annoying you. It was not my intent. It was merely to annoy Glenn. And
I'm not sure you annoyed her, but I think she wanted to make sure that we realized that it was pronounced.
There are many things that we get wrong.
We do appreciate.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah,
absolutely.
You never annoy us with your
there are
proper pronunciation,
many
and
things.
sometimes you help us not look like idiots.
Yes, although we still continue to say Barrowman and Davies.
which I did earlier.
We've at least fixed Kumri.
No, there are many things that we get wrong. Occasionally, we do it on purpose. So, that
happens to be one of those times. Very good. All right, let's move on. Next up is Rachel. Rachel writes, no title line. Okay. First, thanks for all your kind words on our Halloween video. All the feedback has been great and certainly made us feel like all the work was worth it. It most certainly was.
Oh, it was amazing.
You guys got to see it finally.
I did finally get to see it once you posted the link to her site. Yeah. I could go look it up, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
It always makes it easier when somebody's able to walk you through it.
Yeah. Well, you know me. You have to hold my hand through these things.
Second, trailers. We have trailers. I'm not sure her voice would have cracked when she wrote that, but I've lost track of how many times I've watched each version. There is so much goodness in each trailer. I could gush and talk about every single piece, but I'll leave that to the professionals. Are we getting paid for this?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it yet.
I'm still trying to absorb it all. I'll just say that I'm glad I'm seeing the 50th twice, once on the 23rd and again on the 25th in 3D, but it's because I'm going to need multiple viewings to catch it all. Third, I'm not sure if you guys saw an interview recently done with Colin Baker at a recent Doctor Who convention, but when the inevitable "Are you involved in the 50th?" question came up, his response was rather disheartening. It wasn't the usual deny or not give a direct answer. He says he's not involved, and as far as he's concerned, neither of the former doctors, and he seemed really upset about it. He says, I can say that Peter isn't because I've seen him recently, and I can tell you that Sylvester isn't, and neither is Paul. So none of us have been deemed worthy of inclusion in a program that celebrates 50 years of British television program, of which I was in for 3. But no, we are surplus baggage.
I think that's a little harsh.
That he said that?
His reaction to it, surplus baggage is a little harsh.
I concur with him 100%. I think that's kind of the way they've been treated this whole time. But I relish in the fact that they have Big Finish, which has done something wonderful with the light at the end, which we'll talk about later, and has continued to bring us the adventures of those doctors, and we're able to enjoy them really in a better way because being audio,
you get
the images of my doctors are still there in my mind, and so it's like we've been able to transport back to the 1980s and get more than what we got before. And so
that's very true.
I think that those guys continue to be wonderful ambassadors for Doctor Who as a whole. If not for the series now, they certainly are still holding up their end of fandom, and I appreciate each and every one of them for doing it. So if they're not included in the 50th, I think I have to look and just appreciate. And I concur with what he says here, because that's very... It's very true. I think the surplus baggage thing is probably maybe a little impassioned, but...
About speaking out of hurt that he wasn't involved.
Probably so, because that's kind of the end. She goes on to say, granted, Colin's history with Who is a rocky one, but to hear that from him makes me a bit sad. Obviously, I don't know what sort of conversations he's had or not had with Moffat or anyone else. And I understand when people say how difficult it would have been to get that many people into a 75-minute special. But I think it's the fact that from what Colin has said, that Moffat never even entertained the idea. Of course, we do have a bazillion other programs that will be airing the week leading up to the 23rd, and the classic Doctors are bound to make an appearance or two, plus all of the celebrations that will be taking place. But this is the 50th anniversary. How many TV programs can top that kind of history? And there's still a chance that everyone is lying through their teeth, but at this point, I'm not holding my breath. Sorry about the rant, but I felt that I needed to say my piece. With any luck, I'll be eating crow in a couple of weeks, as long as it comes with a side of chips and lots of salt and vinegar. That's all I have for now. Until next week, Rachel.
And she includes a link to that.
And I will add that to the show notes.
And
Rachel, it's a ploy.
There are a bazillion other programs, and I remember seeing somewhere that at least Peter Davison's a part of one of them, for sure. So, I mean, they're still going to be represented elsewhere, unfortunately, just not on the show canon.
That's right. All right. Oh, I lost my list. Oh, no, I didn't. It's right here in front of me. Next up is...
Alex?
You got it.
Doing this out of memory, he has notes. Hey guys, Alex here. Or his subject line is late. Hey guys, Alex here. Just very quick feedback to wish you a happy epiversary. It's very late at the moment in the UK, almost 3 a.m. and I've only... Huh?
I said, oh my.
Oh, and I've only just remembered that it was this week's marks TTV 150. Thanks for all the excellent work, guys. You are far and away the best Who podcast out there, and my favorite to listen to. Here's to 150 more. That's all for now, because I'm very tired. Did I mention it was really late? So I'll save talking about the 50th trailer until next week. I will say that I am excited. Happy traveling, Alex. P.S. REM single, It's the End of the World as We Know It, and I Feel Mimes.
Good one.
That would have been a good one.
Well, Alex, thank you very much for staying up super late for us to wish us a 150th
sending us
happy anniversary. All right, next up is...
Holly.
Yes.
Holly writes, 150, The Dæmons. Oh, that felt weird. Hey, guys.
She didn't write that.
She didn't write that, I said. No, she wrote
the Dæmons.
She wrote the Dæmons.
No, I know. You said it felt weird.
It felt weird. Hey guys, happy epiversary. Here's to more episodes and tangents. The Dæmons was a good story. I have to say that I really enjoyed the character of Miss Hawthorne. She proved to be the voice of wisdom numerous times throughout the story. The scene in the beginning with the Doctor using a radio remote control to control Bessie just to get a rise out of Joe was pure Third Doctor. The whole unit gang is back, which further adds to my enjoyment of the story. Loved Benton in this. I kind of got a Christmas Invasion vibe from the Doctor being sidelined in bed for part of the story after being caught in the cave-in explosion at Devil's Hump. He's really lucky that he didn't start the regeneration process, unless extreme cold has something to do with that. Later on in the story, once everyone figures out the Master is behind the goings-on with Azul and trying to get through the heat shield, is well done. The look on the Brig's face when Benton tells him over the radio that it's the Master is behind it was priceless. I think the Master learned that sometimes when you call on things to gain more power control, you get more than what you ask for. I'll wrap this up here. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this story. Holly.
Very good. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
And we'll get to that in a minute. But first, we have more feedback. Up next, David.
Yay. David writes, "Quirking hell with devils and other hell stuff." Wow. Dear Vortex landlords, launching straight into reviews. The Dæmons is
rent.
The Dæmons is a story I hadn't seen in a while. I watched it when I was trying to catch up on all the classic series before the 50th, which I managed to do, completed it about 2 weeks after starting 2 weeks ago after starting August last year.
Congratulations, David.
I missed it already. And I thought it was okay. From what I remember, it felt a little bit off to me at the time, but I did like the whole kind of magic aspect of it. And of course, Stephen Thorne is Azal. As for Prisoners of Time 10, well, I went in with low expectations, feeling that they were going to do a mini adventure for Tin and Doctor, like all the others, and they wouldn't have much.
Martha.
What did I say?
Tin and Doctor.
Tin and Doctor, yeah. Tin and Martha, like all the others, they wouldn't have time to touch on the Atom stuff. But it turns out that there was still a lot of fun to be had. Never did I expect to hear myself say, "Wow, cool, the Quarks, look, Quarks!" But I did. Their return alongside the Dominators felt like a nice callback, and in many ways the story feels sort of like a sequel to the Dominators. It was also nice to get to see the Doctor contact Frobisher again, and... oh, I'm sorry, this time from the Doctor's angle. That's all, really. David. Very good, David.
Thank you, David.
Oh, more on that later. But first,
You should always say, "Oh, look, Quarks," in a happy manner.
If you're Keith.
That's from me. Next.
there's a scientist somewhere looking through an electron microscope going, "Oh, look, quarks!"
Quarks are the great surprise of Doctor Who. Up next.
They're the great something of Doctor Who.
They're awesome. Chrissy, from Daleks to Dæmons to Dominators? Okay, 2 out of 3. Dear Vortex boys. Alright, we finally got the trailer. And not just a trailer, 2 trailers. 3 if you count the BBC America version with the theme music from the tribute teaser trailer from a couple weeks back. I think it looks marvelous. My favorite part is when the 10th Doctor does the whole "You were decorated, I don't like it" line. It's a perfect blend of a 2nd Doctor from the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, and it's the 10th Doctor saying it. Apparently we can't have an anniversary special without that line, and I'm okay with this. Did we get it in the 2 Doctors?
I don't remember it in
I
the
don't
2
remember
Doctors.
the 2 Doctors.
We'll have to go look. I think there's more of this sort of thing that we're going to get in this special. We may not have classic Doctors actually in the special, but there will be plenty of callbacks and little Easter egg type nuggets to be found for those who are looking. One quick note. I'm certain that you guys will get Doctor Who and the Daleks with Peter Cushing on the review schedule at some point, but for anyone who's just curious about it and wants to watch it on their own, here's some advice. Riff Tracks. Get the darn Riff Tracks version. I'll write up a review of the movie on its own in due course, but I haven't watched it with... If I hadn't watched it with the Riff Tracks commentary, it would have been very much less bearable. I'm not saying this is to show for Riff Tracks. I'm saying this because your sanity will thank you. While I love 1960s Doctor Who, I'm not terribly fond of that kind of 1960s Doctor Who. And thanks to Keith for suggesting we do a tweet along to the real version of the Daleks. I just intended on watching it on my own, but it was fun to have a little Who with friends this week. And a big thanks to everyone who participated. Couple of reviews then, and then the Dæmons.
Maybe we do just do it wrong. I don't know now.
He ingrained it on me.
It's seeped into all of our context and lexicon.
The Dæmons.
Vocabulary.
I enjoyed this story, and I can see why other people hold it in such high regard. I like the whole science and magic comparisons. though it feels like they could have done more with it if they really wanted to, but that's neither here nor there. The whole unit family is on top of their game here, even the Brigadier, who spent most of the time trying to get through the heat shield dome thing. Yates and Benton were fantastic. They very nearly stole the show. The Master was doing his very best to call forward to the time when it would become Eric dressing for the occasion Roberts. Sorry, that joke was just laying out there and I had to pick it up. Joe and the Doctor are both great as well, but that's always a given. Smiley face. Too bad you guys haven't reviewed this one when you did your third Doctor retrospective. It could have easily been the representative story.
That's true.
I think it was Colton that said that exact thing.
I think you are.
Yeah, I would agree. This would have been my pick if we'd have watched it already.
I think it would have been mine too, actually. Prisoners of Time 10. Maybe we should have pushed this one back even further and reviewed it after we rewatched The Dominators for Friday Night Who. Haha. No, this was a pretty solid story. I'm glad we got Martha in one of the various 50th anniversary things going on. I mean, Donna was in Destiny of the Doctor, Rose in Day of the Doctor. Martha needs some recognition. Hear, hear. I felt like I could see David Tennant and Freeman Adjaman in a story like this, so it's a credit to the writers having the Doctor and Martha's voices and personalities down pretty well. Also, the artwork was very good, excepting that one portrait-type picture from the very front, not the cover, the one right before the title page with the 10th Doctor, not looking like the 10th Doctor at all. All of the art looked like it belonged in a comic book, and I quite liked it.
Hear, hear.
And it's nice that we get the payoff of the 10th Doctor contacting Frobisher clear back in the 6th Doctor story. But still, where's Perry? I guess we'll get the final conclusion next month, or at the end of this month. Wibbly-wobbly comic release dates and all of that. End of this month is more correct because we have 2 more issues. So, it's not enough that we got a 50th anniversary extravaganza going on over the place. On top of all that, you 3 are having your 150th epiversary as well. Throws confetti, blows party horn. I guess it's fitting that we have this to celebrate as well because, and let me get all mushy and crap for a moment. There's been an incredible group of friends that's grown up around this podcast and Friday Night Who, and all the other fun things you guys have put together and encourage us listeners to take part in. The 50th anniversary would not be as much fun without you guys and all the other listeners, both those of who send in feedback and do photo challenges and blog posts, and those of us who just listen and enjoy the podcast. So hooray for Traveling the Vortex. That's it out of me. Only 2 more weeks to go. Well, 13 days, but we're not counting down at all, are we? Oops.
Am I going to have to take that away from you now?
Oops.
I feel like we should also thank our listeners.
Oh, absolutely.
And I agree completely with Christy that I feel like we have had such a great group of friends and people rising up around us and supporting us, and we wouldn't be at 150 if it weren't for all of you. So thank you very much.
I don't think the 3 of us could have prattled along and talked aimlessly for hours that we do every Sunday night had we not thought anybody out there was listening.
Yes.
Because
I could have.
We would have done it anyways. We just would have stopped recording.
That's just it. We can wax lyrical for hours on mundane stuff, things that interest us. But when we find somebody that's listening and there's actually an ear, that I think that makes it even more special. And so that's what's kept me going for all these 150 episodes anyway. So.
It sometimes goes without saying, and I don't think it should ever go without saying, that we owe everything to those of you who are listening to us now. I mean,
agreed.
It's just we
new and long-time listeners.
Remain humbled.
Very good. All right, well, shall we move on to
our reviews? We are going to start with Prisoners of Time 10.
I almost said Destiny.
I almost did too.
I can't get those 2.
There's no synopses for these, of course, but
so we'll launch right into it. I want to just let's get this out of the way because I agree with Chrissy that this looks like a comic book to me. This is artwork that is worthy of a comic book.
What helps is the IDW has had a 10th Doctor line.
That's true. They already have.
This is not new territory for IDW. All the other comics for them were new territory.
Is this artist someone that worked in the line as well?
Let me look.
Because I think if I were an artist for the 10th Doctor line, I'd have said, "Hey, give me something older. I've been doing 10th Doctor for a long time. I want something else." So I would assume that they would have brought somebody in for this one, different for this one. But no, I agree. I think the artwork looks fantastic, with the exception of maybe that second.
That was just an alternate cover, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was, well, no, I don't think it was an alternate cover. I think it's one of those page insert things. You know, they always have like the first page, and then there's a copyright page, and then there's one more in there between that and the story starting. Sean's bringing it up here.
See,
you have to get there's
this one.
We get a review. That's the one I think. This is the one I think she's talking about.
I think that's an alternate cover.
Yeah, is it? Okay. Well, because depending where you pick it up, you don't get all the covers that we get to see with the review copies. But I think I think that's the one she's talking about. But I think she's getting it from that copyright page. Unless if she'd have picked that cover up, she'd have said the one on the cover. So
yeah. Let's see if I can.
I don't know.
How excited was I when I saw this alternate cover?
Ooh, that one's kind of cool.
Which is really cool. The one with Martha in the spacesuit.
Anything to do with the story, though? A little bit.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I was really surprised when I saw this cover and went, "Oh wow, cool!" And then nothing to do with it until that one scene, and then all of a sudden it was like, "Oh, that's where that comes from."
Yeah, that's
so
right.
that was
okay. I do remember what that's referencing there.
The 50s style Martha in Flash Gordon bubble helmet spacesuit ray gun.
So
cover.
Keith, were you excited about the
I
books?
really like this. This is my favorite so far. And it's I squeed a lot because of the quirks. I did not expect them to show up, and I think they're used. The quirks and the Dominators are used really well in this. I liked the story was good. It actually had a beginning, middle, end. Mm-hmm. I was a little worried that because we haven't had that in this, so it's a good, compact, solid story for the 10th Doctor, and it's a very 10th Doctor story. And just the fact that quirks are in it and Dominators elevate it even more, and you can see them in the background, and yeah, I had nothing to complain about the story. I would probably reread this one multiple times.
Is it just me or are the Dominators more brooding and scary in this one than they are in their proper story?
It's been a while since I've seen the Dominators, so I really look forward to going...
We'll rectify that next week.
I look forward to going back and rewatching it. But I think it's the Dominators utilized to their full potential.
Yeah, I think that's why.
I think that's also why I liked it. This is what they were going for. I get it now.
Mm-hmm. I also think, though, that I don't remember much about the Dominators other than the fact that the society that's being suppressed or that's being used, that they've come to harvest for their slave labor, they seem so, they were just...
Yeah.
And so when it's now finally, they're coming to Earth to take, present-day humans and use them as slaves, then it's like, that's a little more weighty, in my opinion. So I think that was another thing that kind of hit home for me, anyway.
And I love the quirks, and the Dominators, but
Lord
I think
knows why.
I don't know why either.
I like the quirks too.
I think it helps.
I think there's a fundamental flaw in the design, but
I think it helps that the story's a bit more condensed.
Yeah, it does.
I think that helps in the Dominator's case.
Yeah, that's probably
because as opposed to being 5 half-hour TV episodes about the Dominators, that they are the surprise villain in 3 pages of comic book.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that.
But it doesn't shortcut them at all either, I don't think. And it doesn't...
you can pretty much get everything you need to know about the Dominators.
And it doesn't expect you to know anything about their history either.
No, it sums it up nicely, who they are and what they're doing, without having to have that backstory of seeing the Dominators. But it's also a nice treat for those of us that know the story in the background, because then you can... I did the same thing as Keith. When I saw who it was, well, first when I saw the quirk, I thought, oh, maybe they're just going with the Quarks here. And then when the Dominators showed up, I went, wow, I can't believe we went here. This is great. So same, high-collared costumes and everything, which those even look better in the comic than they do on the episode. But I guess maybe, or the story, but maybe I'll change my mind about it. Maybe we'll go back into this going, we had a really good piece of Dominators. Maybe that will make me appreciate the TV story more.
I'm kind of curious to now go look and see if there were any novels or audios with the Dominators.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not
see if it improves,
but there might be some out there.
About the arts, according to Comic Book Database, yes, there's a database for this too. Mm-hmm. If we're basing,
come to bed.
If we're basing if we're going by arts, purely art.
This wasn't that important to look up, but go ahead.
She has not done a Doctor Who story before.
Oh, see, there you go. So that's that. Then I appreciate this even more.
She worked on Angel.
Oh, these two covers match up. That's cool.
Hmm?
The two the one that I was raving about with Martha is actually the split side of that. You notice the TARDIS in the middle.
Oh.
It's all one piece.
Yeah. Let's talk about more things that our viewers can't see.
Unfortunate side effects of digital copy.
There's not really much else I had for this. I mean, there wasn't. It was. I agree. It was nice to see the Doctor side of the Frobisher bit.
I like the fact that,
and in fact, I had to go back and reload and relook at the Sixth Doctor one to make sure. Oh yeah, that does match up right.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the opening. I love the fact that he's showing enough of an interest in Martha at this stage to take her and show her Gallifrey, and do so in a
roundabout way.
Well, in a roundabout way, but also in a very conventional. This will make sense for her to view it in this. I mean, he could have. I suppose he could have parked the TARDIS in orbit over the time lock and said, "Yeah, it's down there." But this is a more romanticized view of Gallifrey.
I think it would have been too painful for him to be above. Above, and that's why he did this.
Well, he can't even bring himself to look through the telescope.
Yeah.
No thanks. I've
here's
seen
the difference: is you guys make it look like you guys talk about this all the time. Like the time lock is some sort of safe, and there's a bubble out there in the universe, and you could park outside and go, "Hey, there's this time locked event." I don't think that's how this works. The time lock locks everything off. It's not like you could even look at it from outside of the bubble. You couldn't go. It's unachievable to go there because he has destroyed them and then locked them out of time altogether. So there's no way to get there. There's no way to physically go there. They figured out how to get out of the time lock, but you couldn't go there to get there. It's not a physical presence that you go to. So that's what makes this even more impressive to me. Is the reason why
if there's no physical presence, then how can they see it?
Because it's a time from the past that's finally reaching Earth
before he's in a time machine.
Before the time. But my point is, a time machine can't get there, but image that is traveling through space to Earth. So that you can see, I mean, we see suns, we see stars that burnt out millions of years ago.
Yes.
It's just because their light is just now getting here. That's the beauty of this, is it's the image from long ago that's reaching Earth, and that's why it's possible to do so in this way. And I agree that it makes it brings it down to more of a Martha level, to an Earth level, to somebody that to be able to comprehend something like this, although I don't think as Keith's trying to allude to, I don't think it was necessary with Martha because he'd already taken her to different times on Earth. I mean, it wouldn't be unusual to go to a different.
It's not so really. I think what it was more than anything else. We want to do this. You can't quite do that. So find another way to do it.
Well, that's the genius of how they did this and let her get a peek into what Gallifrey looked like, what it was. When he's already told this story, obviously, at the end of Gridlock, because he sits down and they start to tell the story, and of course we don't get all of it, but he starts to tell her what has happened, and so I get the impression that he's sort of told her more of that as we've gone off camera, and I think to me this is the culmination of the story. Now I'm going to show you where
now I'm going to show you
all of this
and I don't mean so much that he's playing down to her. Right. I don't want to give that impression, but it's a much more romanticized
yes, I would agree
way
with that.
of doing
That's,
it.
That's the aspect
than
that I
just
agree with.
the idea of pulling it up on a scanner or or parking above it or whatever you. I'm not using that as it's a big bubble that you can't get through the time. I'm just saying whatever else they could have come up with.
Sure.
This is a beautiful way of doing it.
I agree,
and I think that works for these two characters.
And I love the fact that she gets plopped into a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
It so reminded me of again a Feast of Stephen. I go back to that because they set down on the middle of a TARDIS, or the TARDIS sets down in the middle of a movie set, and there's hilarity ensues, and there's kind of these light moments, and it's obviously played for comic effect entirely in Feast of Stephen, but in this, while it's still played for comedic effect, it works very, very well, and I love the fact that it's still within the scope of the story.
Right.
There's a reason why that this has happened here, and why this is a part of this story, and it works really well.
I agree with, I think it was Holly, who said they really got the 10th Doctor and Martha, and they got their relationship right, because sometimes I don't think the TV show quite did it right, partially because he was being too mopey, missing Rose.
Yeah.
And there's none of that in here. It's them just being friends and having fun, and that's what I like. That's when I feel they're doing Martha justice, is in those instances. And they did a good job.
I like the fact that the Quarks and the Dominators remained true to form, that there was a bunch of standing around shouting on the parts of the one, and a bunch of shooting and missing at everything except themselves and important pieces of machinery.
Agreed.
I had a question, and maybe somebody can point out what I missed, because I don't know that I missed it. The scene when the Doctor is walking out into the prop junkyard to confront the Quark, and it turns around and shoots at him, and all of the laser beams seem to deflect. I mean, they make a point of arcing away. It's not like it missed. It's like the beam was headed for him and then zoomed the other direction. I'm not quite sure why. The next scene, the Doctor uses the sonic to bring the overhead light down on the Quark's head, but he's not got the sonic in his hand in the previous panels, so I'm not quite sure what's going on here.
Right. I think it's supposed to give the impression that they're shooting and he's dodging.
He's just dodging?
Yeah. I think that's the impression it's supposed to give him.
It is.
That's how I took it.
There,
that's how I took it. But I was just curious to know if there was something else at work that. Or does this just really illustrate how much the Quarks suck? They can't shoot
I don't know
straight.
that their beams could actually
they
curve.
They can curve a
mid.
beam.
Yeah.
Like Wanted.
And not hit things.
Maybe that's an explanation for why they don't hit things.
Maybe he wasn't trying.
Their beams sights are off.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't trying to shoot him, just scare him away.
I thought this one bounced off of him in this second panel on that page.
That was my
and
first thought, too. Is he got armor?
Yeah, he talked about, I saw you. And, it didn't.
So I
just let that one kind of wash over me.
Maybe should have just had some motion lines on the Doctor instead of on the lasers.
Yes, agreed. I think it was just
instead of having the laser
poorly done there. So,
because looking at the art, it definitely curves.
It definitely curves. That's what I was confused about.
Yeah.
That's a small nitpick. I'm not picking on the art at all on this one. I think overall this is I thought it was a good story.
And how did the Doctor not recognize the Quarks?
He did recognize them.
Not right away. It's line. I'm misreading that line. Never mind.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't remember a time where he didn't recognize them.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of agree with who was it that said they didn't think they were going to expect much? Was it David? That wasn't expecting much out of this with a kind of typical Dr. Martha story, and then how are we going to get to that? And then, well, we did it. And I like the fact that even Adam says, you know too much the second I appear in the timeline now, that he's getting closer and closer and closer to his present. So
I think the sacrifice was made there in the Ninth Doctor story to truncate the adventure more than anyone we've had in the past, and explain the Adam connection. And again, I think that was done well.
Yeah,
I appreciate
well, that was the Doctor you had to do.
And so when we talked about now, are we going to go back to run-of-the-mill adventure and then a little bit of a nugget at the end? And that's exactly what happened. But it worked well. And part of that might have been smoke and mirrors with the Quarks and the Dominators. Because, remember we did this with the Zabri, I think it was, in the very first one, where was it the Zabri? Yeah, and we went, wow, these guys showed back up, and unfortunately, it hadn't been too long before that we watched the Web Planet.
It was just before that.
Yeah, so I mean, it was it might have been smoke and mirrors that we were excited that hey, this is a one-off monster and villain who suddenly we brought back in the comics, and how wonderful to do that in the 50th anniversary.
I think that's when
we did this again with Ted.
That's when these comics are at their best, instead of having somebody new, because despite the Sontaran story with 5 not going anywhere, it was fun to read.
It was, and it was nice to say, here's the Sontaran Rutan War we've heard so much about.
Yes.
And now we're plopped down in the middle of it. I think even so with the Ice Warriors in the Second Doctor.
Doctor one.
Yeah, it's the ones where they didn't do this, like
the Third Doctor.
Third Doctor and Sixth Doctor.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Well, the Sixth Doctor had the Master in it, but...
Yeah, but he wasn't really
much.
the villain,
Yeah.
and it was very...
And then we get the Master again in the Seventh Doctor story.
It wasn't even the Master, was it?
Yeah,
it was
there was the Master was a cameo because there was a side story going on at the time...
That we don't know anything about.
That we didn't know anything about.
I think it was the Seventh Doctor.
No. The Seventh Doctor was the Master. I mean, he was the heavy. But in the Sixth Doctor story, he's on a monitor and he's talking to the Sixth Doctor, and the Doctor's he's trying to trap the Doctor, but the Doctor's there for a whole other reason, so he gets kind of blown off. The Master gets blown off because the Sixth Doctor's actually trying to find out where. I think at that point, Perry and Frobisher have disappeared. At that point, haven't they?
No.
When we finally get to that,
they were going to rescue him.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, yeah. So.
Yeah, because it was Autons were the heavy.
Yes, Autons were the heavy. The Master happened to be trying to work his advantage there, and there's just this quick throwaway, and the Sixth Doctor almost just brushes him off like, I don't have time for you type thing. So,
it was it's the Sixth Doctor story, not the Third Doctor story.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. You kept saying Third Doctor, and I was like, he wasn't in the Third Doctor story.
We said Third Doctor earlier, and then he brought up the Sixth Doctor story.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
I'm trying to remember what the fourth one was.
Leela and K9 and the airship planet and the crystalline, whatever it was, religious
Jadoon.
And the Jadoon.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, I give this one high praise.
I do too.
I hope these next two really kind of wrap things up nicely, and I'll be excited to see the 11th Doctor next.
Yes.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the demons, or
the Dæmons.
In the peaceful village of Devil's End, something very strange is happening. A professor is preparing to open a nearby burial mound, and a local white witch foresees death and disaster. Meanwhile, the new vicar looks suspiciously like the master. No! He's tricky. Sorry.
White collar, man. It fooled me.
And he is using it's those glasses too.
He had the Clark Kent glasses on.
Effect, yeah.
And he is using black magic to conjure up an ancient demon. Can the Dr. Joe and unit stop their old enemy before he succeeds?
Dun dun dun!
This was a lot of fun.
It was an enjoyable episode.
This is one of those stories that I have not seen. With the exception of clips. Yeah, I had never seen this. And then I picked it up months ago, knowing that we were going to be putting it on the schedule at some point, and watched it about a month ago.
You picked it up shortly after it was released, wasn't it?
It might have been. And I think it was one of those ones I got when Barnes & Noble was doing that real good discount where you could buy two and get one for free or something to that effect. And but I picked it up and set it on my shelf for a long time. Then I finally watched it about a month ago and just thoroughly enjoyed it. And like I said, I knew enough little pieces of it to know who was in it and what the story was, and that it was us all, and it was Bach. But
the Master wasn't a surprise.
I had never watched it from. Yeah, no, I had never watched it from beginning. Well, exactly. But I had never watched it from beginning to end, and I absolutely loved it. And it was one of these few stories that I knew we were going to do it again for Friday Night Who, and I was still super excited when we rolled back around and got to watch it again just on Friday, because it is a good story. I agree with whoever said that if it had been one of the choices as the best representative of the era, I probably would have picked this one, because it really showcases the Doctor at its best, and it showcases really kind of the epitome of the Doctor's entire run, just every element of it.
I think it really showcases, well, I have to be careful with how I say this. With two notable exceptions, I think it showcases everybody at their best.
Yeah.
I think it showcases the Doctor. I think it showcases Benton, even Yates. It's very
Yates
Benton.
is actually likable.
Yeah, Yates is. It's very Benton and Yates heavy, and it's a lot of fun to watch them. I don't think it shows as many of the finer qualities that we've come to really appreciate in Jo. This one really kind of regulators.
Well, and to be fair, this is pretty early in Jo's run, isn't it? This is the end of her first season.
Yeah, near the end of her first
season. So it does make sense of the way she's portrayed because we haven't developed her to be awesome yet.
It's not the Jo that we've come to really know and appreciate.
This is very much the Jo we're introduced to.
But even the Brigadier, I think, is backburnered a little bit.
She's grown a little.
Yeah. A little bit.
I think even the Brigadier is backburnered a little bit. He's got some great lines, but he's not in the story for a good chunk of it. And then the chunk that he is in, he's shown to be outside the action and very ineffectual. It's not.
See, I disagree with the ineffectuality of it, because I think the Brig needed to be where he was, because as the Doctor's trying to figure out a way to get Unit in, which I love the whole idea of the heat shield thing.
That was really cool.
We're going to have to figure out how to take care of ourselves in here. We don't have the army at our beck and call right now, and I love that idea. But by putting the Brigadier out there, what I liked is the Brigadier shined in this, because every time the Doctor said, here's how we're going to do this is how we can get through. First of all, the Brigadier is trying everything he can to figure out how to get in. And he can't. And I love that. That's fine. It's a weakness, but it's because his determination to get in there is resound. He's
using
just
every resource he has.
Yeah, he does. In fact, the RAF flying the RAF over.
How smart he is figuring out what's happening without the Doctor even having to explain to him.
So I love the fact that he's doing that. But he's also the in-charge man that when every time Sergeant Osgood, who the Doctor's trying to walk through building this, generator that's going to, punch a hole in this off the big old giant transmission lines out there, Osgood keeps going, I can't, this isn't going to work. It's not going to hold. And all the Brig has to do is look at the Doctor and say, is this going to work? And the Doctor says, I hope so. And the Brig keeps pushing Osgood. He's in that. I'm drooling all over myself because I'm trying to eat a lime here too. He's in that position that he just continually trusts the Doctor. He knows that the Doctor knows best, and he keeps pushing Osgood and everybody. And he's very Brigadier in this one. And I think he's not backburnered in this at all. He's so what he needs to be where he needs to be.
He's ineffectual in his impact on the story.
No, I don't.
Yes, he wrote Osgood to get him to do what he needed to do, and ultimately all that did was open the door for them to get into the town and show up with a bunch of machine guns and bazookas, which didn't work. That's the ineffectual, and it's kind of par for the course for Unit. But
the Brig is always leading the charge behind the Doctor, who has already got things solved.
Right, but I like that when we get the occasional story that the Brig steps up to the plate and does something and it works, or he does something, How do I put this? I don't get me wrong. I love the relationship between Pertwee and Nicholas Courtney. I think they had such wonderful chemistry. But I get a little bothered with the Silurians' tone, where they kind of paint the Brig into this very unimaginative, militaristic corner, and the Doctor has to slap him around and say, you are a complete moron, and you went against what I said, and you're an idiot. And they do that from time to time in these Third Doctor stories, and I like the ones a little bit better where they're more banter and more kind of back and forth, and not equals, obviously. The Brig knows his place, but he also knows that there are times that he can do something and the Doctor's going to stand back and let him do it, because that's the appropriate response for that.
I don't think that makes him backburner in this, because what this does is this illustrates the fact that, as opposed to the Silurians, where he's more reluctant to listen to the Doctor or Spearhead from Space or any of those other stories.
Yeah.
He has gained a respect of the Doctor, and I love that. He's gained the Doctor has gained the Brigadier's respect, and that comes across in waves in this one, in just the way that the Brig is ready to allow the Doctor to figure this out and do it the right way, and he's ready to step aside and say, I'm still in command here, and that's my strength. The Doctor's working towards his strength. I think that just that came across so beautifully in this story.
Oh, it did.
I think there's if the brig were allowed in the town, there's a lot of that wouldn't have happened. This would have been a very short story.
Yeah,
I think a lot of stuff would have
I
been done
think
quickly.
units still could have been a little,
the heat barrier.
little less, little more effectual.
And letting the brig be outside and try to figure out a way in to try to stop everything, while in the end they might not have done much, it was still important for the brig to do.
What it did is it allowed Yates and Benton to pick up the torch and go and do the cool stuff that they did versus go get coffee or go out on watch duty or whatever. They kind of backburner them in the normal stories because it was reversed.
Well, they get more action. They're still ineffectual as well.
Yeah,
everything that they do, with the exception of Benton. Finally, Benton no, I'm not talking about Benton getting to be man of action, because that was cool in itself. But it was still ineffectual because there's still consequence, and he didn't get done what needed to be done. But Benton shooting the White Witch, shooting the light and the weather vane, so that they could pull off this thing that clearly he and her had set up ahead of time to basically save the Doctor, who's tied to the maypole and was going to be burnt at the stake.
When she says, to command your gods to go break that street light, the Doctor kind of gives her a look like, with what? And I'm expecting him, was he going to reach in his pocket and pull the sonic and kind of shoot I kept, where's the sonic? Here it comes. And no, bam, Benton. It's like, oh, yeah! I mean, it was just so awesome.
I respected the Doctor, too, for playing along, for
going along with
and knowing that, okay, clearly she's a smart woman, even though she believes in the occult. Clearly she's an intelligent woman. She must have this handled. And so he goes along with it. And I love the fact that it worked out for him.
And it is partially of, I don't have many other options, so I'm going to have to go along.
What would you call him? Queequeg Quad?
Something like that.
Something like that, Queequeg Quad.
And if the brig were there, we wouldn't have gotten that great stuff of them. The Doctor would have never gotten tied to that maypole.
No, because he just slapped the town into martial law, and he'd have taken charge of that situation.
And I really liked Benton and her's relationship that they have. They had such good chemistry together.
They did, yeah.
And at first, you're like, why, Benton, are you even untying her and just leave her alone until the end of the story? But then that really starts developing into a nice friendship, which I thought was great. I liked Bach.
I did like Bach.
Bach was good and acted really well. He was portrayed very, very well.
I think this is one of those examples of a special effect that I think people might poke fun at and go, but because Bach is
he's a visual effect,
stone,
really a special effect.
Dæmons, because he's a stone gargoyle. I'm okay with him looking like a stone gargoyle came to life. I think it's very limited. I mean, I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to be a weeping angel.
I don't even think he was limited. I think that was the nice thing of the performance is he had this kind of this creature-like look and move. He moved like I would have imagined a gargoyle would.
Yeah,
I think people that would poke fun at Bach would be the people that didn't quite notice the statue to begin with.
Yeah, maybe so.
That if you didn't see that statue in the background,
the tongue too. Why is his tongue speaking up? Well, because that's how it was in the
statue was. Now you could say to the designer, "Why did you bother doing that?" But I got the impression that the gargoyle was actually a gargoyle they used, and then they designed Bach around the actual gargoyle. Or do you think they designed Bach and then made the gargoyle? Because it wasn't always him there sitting.
No, it wasn't. It was definitely a prop that was sitting there, but I don't think it was something they pulled off the shelf. I think clearly they designed both at the same time, and they just said this will be our prop where the eyes light up.
It came across as it could have been a gargoyle.
Well, now I agree with that. That's probably a typical idea for a gargoyle. Maybe that's where you're coming from.
Tweaked it. Yeah,
that's what I think. Okay, then yes, I would agree that they got that from the idea. Maybe somebody saw a gargoyle on the side of a building.
Let's use that design.
Like that design, yes. Yeah. Okay, I would agree. And they use that for both of the... I would agree with you, Keith, there.
And I, as great as Stephen Thorne is, I feel like Azul was kind of a letdown.
Azul? Wasn't Azul in the Ghostbusters?
Azul. That's why I combined it.
Yeah.
You agree?
I think it's Azal.
Azal. There was such great build-up, and then
maybe it's our fault because we talked to Stephen Thorne.
Well, but they build it. They build him up so well, and the effect is very, very cool. But he shows up. Okay, I don't want to come back. Then he comes back, and then doesn't really do what he says he's going to, and kind of has this. I like the idea of the moral dilemma he's kind of faced. Of, well, should I go ahead and smote everyone or not? Which is what it comes down to. And I like that idea. It's just he just didn't come across as menacing as I think they built him up to be. I think the problem,
and this is the only weakness in the story, is when we get to that point, it's like, where are we going? Well, because the Master is trying to get Azal's power.
Yes.
Because you get this impression that Azal will pass this power on to somebody, and that's menacing enough. But Azal never really... I mean, when he starts to say, I didn't necessarily say I was going to give you the power. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but that's kind of the way he conveys it. It's this moment of... But the legend is, or the idea is, that you're going to give up this power to the next person to possess, and... Now you're like having second thoughts, and this guy essentially, you don't want the Master to win, but he's really kind of done everything he's supposed to do.
Oh, yeah.
And so then when you get kind of flaky and think, well, I'm going to give it to this guy, then it's like he's not near as menacing anymore, because it's like, I woke up, who should I give my power to today? I mean, that's just really kind of the way that's conveyed at that point.
I think that's the problem. I think the and this is where I'm going to make a defense in my mispronunciation. I think everything in the story, all the trappings of the story, we've got witchcraft and magic and demons and gargoyles and Satanism and horrible powers from beyond as all of this magic. But
ancient
in reality...
science we don't know.
Ancient science we don't know. In reality, it's...
Magic so old. Or no, science so old that it looks like magic.
I like that explanation, too. That was good stuff.
In reality, we've got this crashed alien here who's been guiding humanity, and we're the dumb ones because we've made up all these legends about them with the horns and everything. But because, as viewers, we're coming from the human lineage, we're kind of in the trappings expecting this to be something horrible. Even though, we just got... the Master's involved. It's got to be something horrible, right? But then when he shows up and he's actually kind of benevolent, not necessarily a good guy, but he's not necessarily the ultimate evil that we have been expecting. Does that necessarily make him ineffectual? Does that make him a letdown? In a way, yeah, it does, because our psyches have built him up to be... I mean, he's the demon,
and
right?
They build him up in this.
Well,
but he's not. He's a demon because he's this alien race. The spelling has nothing to do with it.
It doesn't work. No, because...
species...
that's why the doctor calls him a demon.
I think you're poking some fun, but I think that the idea is that this is what, again, going back to the whole Forever Autumn idea, is these are aliens that have been here for so long that they've seeped into legend and lore, and that's why we have the idea of demons coming from hell and fire, and because that's essentially that's their MO. Exactly, that's what their species uses. And so I think that's the only idea behind that. That's why it's seeped into the occult, essentially, is because, there is something behind these cultic ideas. The problem is it's not magic, it's not metaphysical, it's not, otherworldly, it's outerworldly.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like Keith said, am I going to smote everybody today or not? Well, I didn't really plan to smite anybody today. I guess I could. Right. I mean, he's just, we're painting him into that corner. We're forcing him into that kind of perception. I was struck watching this, how similar... and now, in all fairness, all of the Master's plans are the same plan. And once again, it didn't work.
What are we going to do today?
Same thing we do every day, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Anybody else get a time monster vibe?
Well, there's even an Atlantis reference.
Yeah.
He says to him, remember Atlantis? I had to go to look to see if that had happened yet. And it hasn't.
Right.
So that's kind of a cool call forward.
Well, or a blatant continuity error.
Well, no, I think it's more of a remember what happened to Atlantis. That could happen here.
Yeah. That's the way I took it.
That's the way I took it.
So then we explore that later.
Right.
And it's like this.
And I think you're right.
They're the same, not species because they're not, but it's the same ideas carried on with that story.
In the meta essence, it's a call forward.
Yes,
is what you're saying.
And,
right.
Yeah.
But just the idea that because
we're going to take this basic premise and reuse it later, and reference it to it.
Yeah. First, we've mentioned it. Now we're going to go there. Yeah,
and essentially do a very similar story.
Just the idea that the Master is going to awaken this almighty whatever and bend it to his will and get the power and then go forth and rule the universe, and it never works.
That's a very Master thing to do. Really.
I know. But I mean, how many times he paired up with an Nestine consciousness and then had to turn on them when he realized it's not going to work. And then, okay, we've got Azel. That's not going to work. And then we've got the Chronos. Oh, that's not going to work. And we've got the Axons. Oh, that's not going to work. I mean, come on, dude.
Sea Devils. Oh, well, that's
You're a smart guy. Let's do something different. Build a bomb. I'm rooting for the Master in this story. I don't know why. I really, you know what it is? It's because I look at the array of forces for good that are arrayed against him, and I look at Benton, and I look at the Doctor, and I look at the Brigadier, and I look at Yates, and I go, "This poor guy never stood a chance." I threw my cloak over you at the end and escaped into the car, and you grabbed the Doctor's car. Oh, you poor guy! You're having a bad day.
One thing we can say for the Master is he is consistent.
He is consistent.
And this would have been his 5th failure so far.
Yeah.
Because there's been 5 appearances before this.
Well,
that we know of.
Well, if you're Sean, you can argue that there was at least one other one.
Yeah, the War Games.
Oh, yeah, sure. So he featured in every single episode, every single story that season.
Same MO.
Season 8.
The Master did?
According to TARDIS Wikia.
He featured in every story of
Terror of
season
the
8.
Autons.
Yeah.
Mind of Evil. Claws of Axos. Colony in Space. And the Dæmons.
We haven't watched 2 of those.
Wow. We'll be done.
So no wonder they're reusing them.
Yeah.
they're running out of ideas.
He was introduced to be the Moriarty of the Doctors.
This is going to sound really strange to say this, so for the long-time Who fans, I'm going to apologize in advance for if you disagree with me. It's almost as if we're going to introduce the Master as Moriarty to the Doctor as Sherlock Holmes.
There you go.
But we're not going to figure out how to do it properly until Peter Davidson's era, when he is the Master of Subterfuge and behind the scenes of something and not revealed until the last act.
Right.
You know, because...
Well, maybe it was the fact of they introduced this villain and didn't know how to quite make him. And it was somebody who said, hey, let's bring him back and retool him, I think is it more than anything else. Because it would be different people behind the scenes in the 5th Doctor's era.
Yeah, but I mean,
clearly, yeah.
They've always said, all the producers and everything for this era, Barry Letts and everybody has always said, we need a Moriarty.
Well, yeah.
And it just,
I think
he doesn't feel like a Moriarty in the
I think the impression I get is that not that they're literally trying to make, they're just using that as an example.
Yes.
They want a...
Yeah. This is simply saying this is the yin to the yang.
Right.
This is Sherlock and Moriarty. This is the yin and the yang. And I think what Keith's saying is then I think when they decided to bring the Master back,
how to make him Moriarty.
Well, that's what I think is what you're saying. Somebody said maybe we should make him more Moriarty-like, and then that's why it suddenly becomes more.
Well, he's supposed to be the Dr. Moriarty. Let's have him be Moriarty, as opposed to Lex Luthor or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Because he kind of is a little Lex Luthor-ish.
I was really hoping that a postal worker was going to bean her with the rock.
That was a cop.
The cop.
Yeah.
I liked her. I liked her character a lot. I totally liked her.
Who would live in a town named Devil's End?
A white witch.
If I were a kid, I would want to get out of there as soon as possible.
There's a lot of places.
A ton of places.
Yeah, there's a lot of places with devil in the title.
Devil's Hump?
And Devil's
Salem.
Hump. And, yes,
that's not.
Salem only got its...
Salem's Lot.
Yeah, but
That's not
Salem only got its
bad connotations.
It's actually Jerusalem's
because
lot,
of what happened there. It wasn't that was already
it wasn't
prenamed
evil.
that.
It wasn't evil to begin with,
right.
Or was it named evilly?
We don't know that Devil's End is necessarily evil. It's the stories that have been told that have made it evil.
Maybe that's a compelling reason to stay there because it was the Devil's End. The devil actually died here. So
see,
if
there
this
you
is
go.
the last spot, then you're safe as heck here.
That's true.
Or safe as hell.
I
We even built a church.
Yeah. Right on top of they don't ever call it a crypt because they were going to call it a crypt and they were afraid that might have some denotations, so they call it a cavern.
Yeah.
But they still, I watched the documentaries on this, both of them, and they still got tons and tons of emails, not back then, tons of messages and letters saying, "Oh, I can't believe you used that church. I can't believe you used that church in your thing, and I can't believe that there's a cavern or a crypt underneath of it. I can't believe you shot all of that in that church, and none of that was all done on the stage somewhere."
Wow.
Yeah.
You know the story's missing?
They still caught some flack for it.
Sword fight. Benton needed to pick up a sword at one point.
Yeah.
And that would have been cool.
Well, Benton was so cool in this
Benton
one.
was so
Benton
cool
was
in
great
this
in this
story.
story. Even Yates was good in this story.
It was
Everybody
just
was
a
cool in this
fantastic story.
I
I really do liked all the trappings and how it stayed true to the actual legends, as opposed to they went back and actually stayed true to 16th century legends, as opposed to 20th century changes to them.
Right.
And the fact that this story could have they could have set it on Halloween because it has the right fit, but no, it's proper to set it on May Day.
Well, because the
That
night
is what it
before
is.
is Beltane Day,
Yeah.
which, in fact, the professor at the beginning of it, which is going to help open that up, the archaeologist or whatever he is, and he says, the evilest of all days, barring All Hallows Eve. So he already nearly equated it to Halloween. So I thought it worked out really, really well. Now, granted, this would have worked really well as a Halloween
story too.
for our week, but even though it's set on April 30th and May 1st. But,
I don't know about anybody else. I was way uber impressed with the heat shield.
yeah, I mean, absolutely.
The everything about it.
The idea, the effects.
The arch when they do finally get it. And you totally explained how they did that. But I don't care. It
It still looks
so
well,
cool.
I think I explained how it said it, and I said, and it still looks that incredible.
Yeah.
When you break it down and know what it is, and then it still looks that good.
Did you know that because you watched the documentaries?
Yeah, and after, because the first time I watched it, I went, "Wow, how did they do that?" And then I watched the documentary,
and that's how they did it.
Yeah,
So that's for real.
It's a wire frame that's trimmed in.
The arch.
They wrap through. Yeah, the arch is a wire frame arch, and then they wrap through Christmas lights, and then they take and they blur. They put Vaseline essentially on either the lens or a plate in front of the camera to blur that out. And then that's how you get that effect. And it looks fantastic. Now, I don't know if that's on the documentary on the disc, which is called this one's called The Devil Rides Out. There's also another documentary that was released
Return to Devil's End.
by a independent company.
And that one's not on there.
And that's not on there.
But that's the one where the brig and...
It's Pertwee, Courtney... Mike Yates, I always forget his name, and John Levine, and the director who was that Barry Letts? Or yes, the director
Campfield, I think.
No,
Isn't it Douglas Campfield?
I think it's written by Guy Leopold. No, it's Barry Letts. No, Christopher Barry. That's what
Christopher Barry.
Christopher Barry. I'll revisit Devil's End, or the town that was shot, and just really kind of reminisce about the making of it. And something that was interesting to me is most Doctor Who productions took 1 week. That's all they got, was a week to do something. And so that's why there's a lot of studio work and very, very little location work. Well, this one is all location work with the exception of a few scenes that are shot on soundstage. And so they were given 2 weeks to shoot this because there's so much location.
Wow.
And they went over budget, too.
Shots, and they did. They went over budget on this. And
you can tell.
There's some
fantastic.
There's
you
some
can tell it was the season finale.
Oh yeah, there's some funny anecdotal stories about how they got around some of the things and why they chose to do certain things certain ways. But they really had the run of the town. everybody there was enamored by the fact that they were shooting in their small little burrow, and they used a lot of them for extras, and so it sounds like they had a lot of fun to shoot this story. So if you could find a copy of Return to Devil's Inn, it's interesting to listen to, because it was done just a few years before Pertwee died, and then it was released on DVD after, because it was on VHS, and then it was released on DVD after Pertwee died. And Nicholas Courtney then recorded a little intro before that, kind of explaining that, saying that it's appropriate that we watch this now, because now that and in fact I think it just passed before they released it on DVD. So.
My high marks across the board for me on this one. I can't.
This has become probably my favorite Third Doctor story now, above Inferno. I absolutely love this one.
And you had not seen Inferno before either.
I had not seen Inferno. Now, there's another one that I'd seen pieces. I had some bits and pieces of it as well. There's a lot of Pertwee stuff that I'm seeing now for the first time linearly. You know what I mean? From the beginning of the episodes. Yeah. Because again, I picked up a lot of there's tons of clips back there. I don't find them much anymore, but there used to be back in the day when I was getting back into Doctor Who. Lots of clips. I mean, I was still dial-up, so I was having to sit there and download and wait for them forever. But there were lots of clips online from the VHS copies of these that were released years ago. And so just over the course of reading everything I had, I really knew the stories and who were in them, and seen good chunks of them, but I've never seen them as sit down and watch them from beginning to end stories. So some of them I had, but
I liked it.
Yay!
I don't know if I put it up as a favorite, because there's a lot of the Third Doctor's era that I liked. I like a lot, but it'd be high up there.
Well, he is pretty much your classic Doctor.
Yeah, well, he's the first one you guys introduced me to.
Right, that's true. We went from Smith to Silurians. So he was your second Doctor.
Yeah. So I'll always like most of his stories, and this is a high end of them. Probably a top 5.
Okay, good. What do we got coming up on the schedule, Sean?
The Dæmons is on the schedule. No, I'm kidding. Next week, a little bit of serendipity, not knowing who the surprise villain was in this week's IDW comic. We're going to get the full-blown story this week. So
where they came from.
It's a recap.
It's a recap. We're doing the Dominators for Friday Night Who on the 15th of November. And which technically will be the 16th.
We have reviewed that one before.
We have reviewed that one before.
It was a while ago too, wasn't it?
It was early. I think it was part of our 7 weeks for 7 Doctors. I think we did the Dominators. That's how long ago that was. So it'll be new to me, because I won't remember any of it. But because we've already reviewed it, our show next week we will do the Doctor Who Revisited documentary special. And we will have our 50th anniversary discussion of the 10th Doctor's era, and so a lot of David Tennant next week. And again, I don't anticipate necessarily that we've kind of already talked quite a bit about his era, so there may not be much that we're able to do that. But that means you need to get onto our website, and Glenn has posted the poll of which episode is most representative of that era, and it was a pretty tight, almost 3-way tie for first place the last time I checked. So
I think there's only been like 7 votes though, or 6 votes.
Why you got to spoil it? Why you got to spoil it, man?
3-way tie.
3-way tie.
Well, it's funny that there's only been 6 votes, and they're really for the same ones on the side. That's what surprised me.
Of the 30. What did you figure? 30 some odd, 35 episodes that you posted? Stories.
Because once you break them out and separate, like I included Utopia, Sound of Drums, and Last of the Time Lords all as one story.
As a trilogy.
And then obviously we did Saint Pit and Possible Planet and all the ones that do naturally pair up as 2-parters as one story. So if you broke those out, it would have been even more. But yeah, it was
of the 35 some odd
and it goes
stories,
clear down the side of the right rail of the page.
Glenn does not like the design of this.
There are only 3 so far that are receiving votes. So get on there and vote.
Next week when I can take it off there. And then put the really extra super long Matt Smith one on there.
It'll be just as long. It's not longer, is it?
No, it shouldn't be.
It should be less.
Yeah, I'm not going to count. So the Dominators and then 10th Doctor discussion. And then November 22nd, running right up into the 50th anniversary celebrations, which I guess the 22nd, that Friday, you'll all be fresh off of watching An Adventure in Time and Space. And then we will watch An Unearthly Child. So we couldn't have planned that better if we tried. And we did try, and it worked out well. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
And I watched, but I'm going to say something here before we get into this. I rewatched Unearthly Child just the other day, the night before we watched the Daleks, and because I did a little review for my blog post. But it was another one of those ones that, knowing the story and the content of it and being more fresh in my mind, it went a lot quick. It was a lot easier to watch this time, and maybe just because of the excitement of this month and just really delving myself into who and knowing that this is the beginning right here. This is what started it all 50 years ago. It was a lot more entertaining to watch it this time. It didn't seem as dull and boring as I have done it several other times that I've watched it in the past. So I don't know what it is about that, but hopefully the tweet along will help that as well. So
I don't know that I've ever really thought the story was boring. I in my mind it's two separate parts. We've got the really awesome first episode one. And then we've got that caveman story.
Yeah. Well, then it's the caveman story that to me has always been dry and lengthy. But there's just not a lot that goes on.
This is a good rock. This is a good knife.
Fire.
A lot of that.
Give us fire.
Give us fire. So we'll do An Unearthly Child for Friday Night Who, and then the big one, number 152, we'll be discussing Day of the Doctor. As of right now, we plan to do a separate side trip for An Adventure in Time and Space.
Space and time.
Or is it time and space or space and time? It is space and time. Well, then let me correct that here before I type it incorrectly, because I've already done it several times.
Dr. Phil's show is An Adventure in Time and Space.
That's why we get it confused.
Well, if we went on his show more often, we could have adventures in time.
Actually,
and space.
his is Adventures in Time, Space, and Music.
Okay, so Adventure in Space and Time. The following week, we are doing The Five Doctors.
The special
edition for Friday Night Who, and then we will dedicate an entire episode to Big Finish's 50th anniversary special, The Light at the End.
Yay!
And I
not much longer,
and it's so good.
So it's 2 hours, right?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I budgeted enough time.
Yes, it is 2 hours.
It's 8 hours.
It's a little more than 2. But
2 hours
how
per
many times
disc.
did
There
you
were 4
listen to
discs.
Well, and it's 8. Well, he thought the story was going to be 8 hours, but the other discs are extras and behind the scenes and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
A lot of great stuff, though. So
yeah, the story itself is 2 hours, and a great 2. Well, I'm not going to spoil it.
yeah.
So there's that, and yeah. I have to calm down now. Some fun things planned for December. We're still obviously finalizing the schedule based on whether or not Audio Go is going to release Destiny of the Doctor number 11.
Our 11th Doctor celebration might be in line with everybody else's by that time.
They'll catch up to us. Or we'll catch up to them, I guess. And then, of course, we've got IDW, which... what was with that? Because they delayed 10, and then turned around, and we've already got our review copies of 11.
We have our review copies of 11.
11 comes out this Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
They
apparently caught back up with their scheduling release.
Well,
So
they're also running out of time to release these.
Yeah.
Well, but that's what I was given.
I know.
So some fun things planned for December, but again, we'll get you as we get closer to that. We'll get those posted. So.
Yeah. And 10th Planet and Spare Parts are on the horizon.
10th Planet, Spare Parts,
not
on
far
the
away.
horizon.
They don't really push back a week.
I'm excited. I hope it's as good as I remember.
Spare Parts or 10th Planet?
Spare Parts.
I hope.
I've never seen 10th Planet.
I've seen 10th Planet more recent than I've listened to Spare Parts. So
I'm gonna warn you all now that you're gonna want to budget appropriately for next year. Yes, I'm already making plans for next year. We're gonna have a lot of these lost episodes recovered. So plan appropriately to spend some money, because they're going to be releasing them all on DVD here, and don't get me wrong. I imagine they're going to dole these out over like the next 4 or 5 years, but you're going to see a lot of new Who coming out.
I suspect we'll have.
They're
more
running
on
out
that.
of stuff to release.
I suspect we will have
Not
more
anymore.
on that next weekend.
So
Little Birdie told me that we will have more on that next week.
So plan accordingly for that.
You know you can't always trust Twitter.
All right. If that's going to do it for this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.